behind. Sayako, it's the Weird Science DC Comics Absolute DC Show. It's the Weird Science DC Comics Absolute DC Show. So let's go.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Absolute DC Comics Podcast. I am here, as always, with my man, Gray. What up, Gray?
What up, Jim? Good morning from Japan.
Yeah,
Happy
good morning.
Saturday.
Let me tell everybody here. I mean, right away, Gray gets on. I'm not feeling great. Now, again, you could be like, oh, you? That's what Eric would say every time that I said I didn't feel good. I feel like I need to go to sleep is what it is. But so I'm there. I haven't eaten much today. So when we're done, I'm going to try to eat something. So I'm kind of hungry. And you get on and you go, hey, what's up? I just had my breakfast of tuna. I'm like, what? Tuna? What did you have?
It
tuna
gets better.
And toast?
Tuna and fried egg on toast with lots of
tuna
mayonnaise and
egg.
ketchup. Come
that
on, Jim.
sounds like the most disgusting thing I've ever. The idea, I get that it was your idea, not your wife's, right? Because your wife
No,
even
it was
said,
my wife's
was
idea.
It? Well,
She's like,
she did say
trust
it.
me, Gray. This will taste great.
Oh my goodness, you are in
It
Japan.
does. It's really good.
Well, you're in Japan, and the thing is, when I think tuna, when you're saying this, I'm thinking of pretty much tuna from a can, like a tuna fish sandwich. But I'm hoping it's like a little bit more like sushi.
No, you're right. You got it. You nailed it, Jim. It's tuna from a can.
Tuna
Unbelievable.
and egg. Well, again,
it's not tuna steak, I'm afraid, folks.
If I
Flaky tuna.
If I do make tuna, sometimes some people put chopped egg in it, but that's a very strong flavor for breakfast. That is crazy talk, is what it is. But here we are. And I'm telling you, it threw me off because usually what you do is you send me pictures of sushi and things like that, and I get all excited. I'm like, yeah, you can keep your tuna and egg on toast. That's weird.
He's having a go at me fish.
Now, again, I am having a go at you, but one of your other things from where you originally are from is one of my favorites. The beans on toast is one of my favorites, so I can go for that. And a lot of people think that sounds disgusting as well, though I think that is lovely, as they say.
Comfort food, especially when you're a bit hungover, Jim. It's perfect.
Yeah. Oh,
beans on toast.
As my cousin said about everything, because he's British, it's brilliant. Everything was brilliant. Every time I would go and we'd visit, it's like, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I'm like, you know what? If everything's brilliant, nothing's brilliant there, buddy boy. But here we are. Speaking of brilliant, no, I already said you. So what I was going to say is the books, but I don't know. These are odd. First off, Superman we'll be talking about, obviously, and Superman's one of those absolute books that a lot of people have as their third place. You know, it's one of the third one down. I like it. I think that it's kind of picking up, but it definitely was a slower pace than especially Batman. And then you have all these new ones, and people are still trying to figure out which will they like of the new ones. And eventually, as these progress, we'll probably have a show where we start off by, hey, we'll list our rankings of the books, because I love rankings. I love doing that. But we end up having Martian Manhunter last week, and that seemed to be the big divisive book where you end up where either you love it or hate it. I don't know. Me and you were kind of in the middle. We did get a lot of crap about it, too. A little shout out to Simon. Hashtag drunk Simon.
Jim.
Simon was really upset, and because we kept saying we didn't get it. Hey, we don't get this. And I think that he'll tell me I'm wrong, but I didn't mean that I didn't get it like, oh, what's happening? I kind of just was, why is this and why are they doing that?
There wasn't much story to get, was there? We kept saying that. Yeah, it kind of stretched out.
That was kind of the deal. And I did talk to people since, and it's a book that you can talk to everybody about, and one person will get mad at you, the other person will, because, again, it's such a wacky thing. But I did say, what happens if the art was different? What would you give it? And a lot of people then admitted, like, well, the score would plummet then. And I don't like when something's like based on that. It almost feels gimmicky. But again, we're not talking about that. And we'll see.
I ordered a physical copy, believe it or not, because of the art. And so, I didn't hate the book at all. I thought it was pretty decent. And I do like the style.
You gave it a decent enough score.
It's a bit divisive, isn't it?
Yeah,
People
it is
don't seem to like Javier.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's odd. And again, The Flash, I can't say was straightforward either. When The Flash came out, we were a little confused about that. And again, saying confused, I mean, I am a dummy, but the idea of confused is, okay, where does this fit in? What's going? Where are we going? And are the changes, unique, or are the changes for change's sake? Are they just trying to be wacky? Are they whatever? We're going to talk a lot about that theory or that sort of frame of mind when we do get to the Green Lantern. But we're going to start with the Superman. And as we say at the beginning, we'll hang out a little bit afterwards. And if anybody has any questions or whatever super chats, we'll deal with them. We'll make sure that we get to them by the end. But in the meantime, as we go into this, we will start with Superman. It is the last dust of Krypton. It's an epilogue, says Son of Smallville. Kind of an odd thing to call an epilogue, but it's written by Jason Aaron, Carmine Di Giovannico on art, Ulysses Areola on colors, Becca Carey on letters, and you do end up have Chris Conroy and Ash Padilla as the editors. And this will give you some things. Again, I was upset at the very beginning. The pacing I thought was a little off because of, as we say, Krypton, the idea of spending a lot of time on Krypton, kind of giving you the play that the Kents weren't ever involved. But we did have that cliffhanger a couple issues ago where it looked like it would be Martha Kent saying, "Oh, my boy from the stars, where is he? Where is he?" And you kind of got
she was in hospital, wasn't she? Or maybe a care home or something.
Yeah, and you got the idea she was
quite sad, Jim.
a little bit of Alzheimer's, and that kind of plays out. And here, Eric was doing it at that point and said that he thought what happened was that the L's actually did all make it to Earth. Now, this was before we knew anything else. It was a while back.
Right.
But he said he thought, okay, the L's made it back, but then they ended up taking assumed names, identities, and they called themselves the Kents. Maybe we'd see that. And that's what he thought that was. It's not that. Usually what I realize at this point, since Eric had left, everything that he thought was going to go on never did. He was off base on everything, is what I say. I like to say.
Just dying to say, "I told you so."
Exactly.
Because you were wrong, Eric.
Even there I said, I don't know. Like, that would have been kind of cool. But we do see kind of here what did happen and how it progressed. But is it enough? I mean, we go to Smallville. That seems to be a big thing. And what we did see at the end of last issue was Superman walking towards Smallville. We even made the joke of him not flying and he's just hoofing it there. And you see, welcome to Smallville. But when we go to this, it is more flashback. And you realize that he was only on the farm. I mean, and legitimately on the farm conscious for just a little bit. It wasn't a long time at all. He was certainly unconscious for a bit. But the actual conscious deal, it seems like days. And then he's gone. So he did make an impact on Martha, it seemed, because she was calling for him, but it just felt weird. And you start out the issue where we're 6 years ago, and you have Cal, and what you want to play out and what Jason Aaron seems to be doing here is really showing you not the torture of it. And I said one of the things was how Cal is getting to Earth is more similar to Supergirl than the original Cal in the regular universe. She ended up having, the ship teaching her things and all that. And that came to be a villain later and all that stuff that Saul seems to be doing with Cal. But it really seems like Jason Aaron wants to show you that it took a while. Like they were flying for a long time, even at a point where Cal just wanted to give up. I like where it almost plays off the idea of the that is not logical type deal when Cal's like, "Hey, leave me off at the next corner." And he's like, "That is not logical. We're in deep space." But
drop me off into that big yellow sun,
exactly.
Please. He's had enough, hasn't he, Jimmy? He's giving up.
Yeah, he's given up.
Oh
and he doesn't think that there is any habitable planets. It's weird too with that because normally you would go with the idea that there was some contact with Krypton, but then they got upset and they ended up cutting off space travel and things like that. But still, it felt odd that the civilization that they think, oh, there's no habitable worlds, but we'll see how that works out. But he's giving up. He's had enough. I think that he's just sitting there. They're not finding a planet. He's claustrophobic. He doesn't want to eat what they call the protein slurry. I can only imagine what that's made of. It's like a human centipede situation. It almost
tasty
seems
wheat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, what would happen though is if they did announce, "Hey, screw that protein slurry. We're going to give you tuna and egg on toast." Then he's done. He's hitting the eject button. Yeah. He is
Get
out.
me in that sun right now.
He's like, "Please throw me into the sun." He wants to be done. He really thinks that it's over. There's no reason to even try. And I do think one of the things that he keeps thinking about as well is that idea of his mom and dad. His mom and dad being dead. Now, I ask you right now, because as he's doing, I want to know, what did happen to Krypton? Like, what happened to... There's everybody else. I guess everybody is dead. Crypto, though, is what I wanted to know about. I
Oh
thought
yeah,
Crypto jumped
where's
in.
Crypto?
Yeah, and he was in his own little thing, and he doesn't mention him as being, hey, my mom and dad are dead or whatever. I don't think he says Crypto. So I'm hoping Crypto actually makes it to Earth
I know where he is,
separately.
Jim. He's on YouTube in that sneak peek
Yeah,
of
he is.
Superman. Did you see that?
Oh yeah, I
Crypto?
saw it. Me and you, remember me and you on your channel did the sneak peek for
Yeah.
the first deal, and nobody liked it. People seem to be liking this sneak peek a little more. I said that all they did was release it so that anybody who had a dog would send this trailer sneak peek to somebody else, because it is pretty good with Crypto jumping
All the comments
around
are
and
about,
stuff.
yeah, if you've got a dog, you're going to love this.
Yeah,
people going
I
crazy.
figured
But
that's
it
what
was
they
well
were doing.
done.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
the Fortress of Solitude looked amazing.
Yeah, I thought it looked better. You even made a non-pun pun. You ended up saying that it gave you chills when you ended up going. I saw you say that. But yeah, so you end up where Cal's going to give up, and then boom, he says, "Just dump me in that yellow sun." Of course, that's a big thing. We know it. He wouldn't. And then he's like, "Man, is it hot in here? Or is it just me? Hey, Saul," and he's starting to burn up, and it looks like even the ship is falling because of him from inside. And Saul's like, "Okay, we detect this planet," and they're lucky that this is a habitable planet. But then he's going to crash in on the Kent farm. That is kind of the same. The big play though is he's older. He's older when he's not a little baby. He's going to crash. We go to the Kents. And you do have, and we saw at one point, remember one of the little things we saw was the Kent mailbox, and then like a foreclosure thing on the farm. So, what happened there? Well, we see that Lazarus is actually controlling weather. They're pretty much controlling everything. This whole Lazarus Corporation, they have drones that can stop the weather.
Yeah.
Martha's on
How
it.
dare they, Jim? What's going
yeah,
on?
exactly. And Martha's on it. But
How dare you?
John doesn't believe it. I think John's more the salt of the earth guy. And he's like, "I don't believe them conspiracy theories." It is
Yeah,
true.
what are you talking about?
We see
Like
that
you're
it's
crazy
true.
or something?
And Martha's like, "Well, you got to get it's an extended scene. I don't know, because of the idea that he only was there for a little bit." And Martha seems to be on her last leg. She's at a care home and looks like she has Alzheimer's. I think that maybe John is already dead. I don't know why we're spending that much time. We spend a lot of time on Krypton. We get that he was raised by, and so when you do get to this point, it's nice enough to see that they were nice to take care of him, but he also leads to some really bad things for them, because it really points Lazarus towards them and toward Cal. And I'm surprised that they aren't just dead immediately, that they're taken away, because they seem to be harboring an alien. But with all this, it's just, hey, we're going to fight Lazarus. How do you fight Lazarus? You can't fight City Hall. I don't know. We need a miracle. Boom, the ship crashes. And they see it kind of envelope in. And it's the cool thing with Saul, where you do see the dust. It kind of explodes out. But then it all envelopes back into him. And it's just there. The ship disappears.
At one point, Jim, it looks like he's got almost angel wings,
Oh,
doesn't
yeah,
it, in that
yeah.
panel at the bottom there. It's pretty cool, the effect.
Yeah, and they said we need an angel. We need help.
It's an angel, a
yeah.
boy who
and
fell from
and
the
again,
sky.
you do play that play in pretty much, it's the Noah, or not Noah. It's like the Moses type deal in the
Yeah, the
regular
Moses
way.
story. Yeah.
And he does. I mean, as he grows up, you have the classic where John can't get the mower out of, or the tractor out of the dirt, and he picks it up. Well, we have that kind of in here. You have that play, but it's so quick that he's there with them, but yet it takes up a big part of this book. And it's not like any of the lessons. Most of the lessons, it seems, unless he goes back or whatever would be the case, but he skedaddles. Like most of the life lessons and things were already learned by, Jarrell and Laura
on Krypton.
on Krypton.
That's right.
So
it's not clear how old he is. What would you say? Is he like a young teenager?
I guess,
here?
yeah,
Like
I guess
13,
you could
14?
kind of guess
Or
because
younger.
of how much longer it took him to get there. But yeah, he's a teen. And
yeah.
they take him, they don't know what's going on, and then they're going to take care of him. And at one point he has, 160-degree temperature, fever. Oh, that's impossible. Well, he's here. Oh no, now he's floating. Now he's heat visioning everything in the house. Now he's wrecking this. I mean, he's really destroying everything they have. But he ends up where, as this goes on, he kind of runs out, doesn't use the door either. And he just crashes out. The farm is
I
falling
wonder what
apart
happened
now.
in that scene there. He's just like huge explosions. Like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
And-
Is it a train?
Yeah, exactly. And he's running around, and then he stops. And this is where it seems like he's running just to run. He wakes up, he's crazed out, he runs, and then he stops and realizes, okay, Later, I'll find out this is called Kansas, and it is a farming deal, and it definitely would remind him of the Redlands. It would remind him of all that stuff on Krypton because of what his mom and dad did. It's very similar, so he kind of does stop. Just take a look, and I like the idea. I actually wish that he was with the Kents longer. The rest
I
of
wish
the
we got a bit
issue,
more of that.
yeah, because it's the standard thing. He can't understand them. They can't understand him. Saul, at the point when they crash, Saul has to shut down and recharge. That just makes it so there's no translation. They kind of go,
Yeah.
and also that Cal is by himself, doesn't know what's happening, and the powers are a little bit supercharged. But
I
instead
do
of,
like that though, Jim, because we tend to kind of rely, a lot on the technology of just like, okay, automatically translating things. So you have like the real struggle of somebody who's come from another place. You can't
Yeah.
understand him, you can't
Yeah.
understand each other, but they still take care of him.
and I
Because
think that,
their parenting like instincts kick
oh
in,
yeah,
don't they?
yeah, and well, John kind of wants to like, hey, I don't know what we're doing here.
John's not sure though, is
Yeah,
he?
he's like,
It's
I
like,
don't know about this, but
Get calling Lazarus, Martha,
yeah,
what you doing?
exactly. He comes to with the whole
He
deal
does.
because
He wins
again,
him over.
you see that Cal is trying to help and that they're doing things, but pretty much it's just like these little scenes. They're out using the tractor, it breaks down. Oh my God, we're gonna have to push it. Cal picks it up. Basically, that's a classic deal. Though a lot of times it's when he's real little, and you have that cute thing when he picks up, and that's where John's like, "Oh no, this boy's different," and they go. But it's okay. But you never. I don't feel like you really get to settle down and see how this affects Cal and how it affects the Kent. It's very quick, but I don't mind it. It's okay. It's just you might have been able to get a little of that Krypton, a little less, and give us more of this. But the play is it's all just going to lead Lazarus there, and Lazarus wants them to foreclose, so they're trying to make the farm fail. And
They
to-
want the land, basically, don't
yeah,
they? Yeah,
yeah,
that's it.
and to
What
make
comes
it
down to.
fail, you have
Yeah.
drones that won't let it rain. And even when Martha was talking, like, yeah, I looked over and it's raining across the street. Like those jerk-offs, they get the rain, but because we're not willing to sell, they're not going to let us in. They're just going to try to just shut us down, and we're not going to have anything. And there was a good scene where she says, yeah, you told me when we got married that the Kents, they were fighting men. They were the fighting people. Remember what I said? And John says, yeah, you said that you always felt like you were a Kent then. You always wanted to fight back. And she does seem to want to fight. They do say at one point then that Cal is giving them like the oomph to get going, but I don't know. I'm telling you, it's nice. I just didn't get the feels from it that we would have if it would have been a little more developed.
Yeah, I got a little bit of it. Like you're
A
saying,
little.
that scene where they're both trying to say thank you, and the way Jason Aaron writes it is pretty cool. He did get me that, Jim.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically, he's thanking Cal, for Martha for keeping her, going, because
Yeah, and
if they didn't have the farm, John was worried that she'd maybe give up.
Mhm.
But now they've got him, they've got the boy. So
the thing, this is what gets you. It almost feels like because of the thing 2 weeks later, and they're doing. I'm
I
like,
know it does.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And they say
it's a
2
bit,
weeks. I'm like, is that a little rushed? Like, I get it that you're fired up, but yeah, it's weird. And then you get the back and forth. And hey, I want to thank you because John now is real excited and stuff. And I get it. It's Cal gives hope and gives the deal, and he's actually.
That's it. That's the magic word.
Yeah,
It's hope,
that is.
Jim.
But it seems like it's too quick. I think that he fixed the tractor. But the thing is, John was going to fix the tractor anyway. He had to go into town. I guess you could play the idea, well, we don't have enough money. At one point, though, you end up having them say, listen, we need to get the farm going, because at one point, Saul kicks in. Boom. He's on. Hey there, Cal. I just recharged. What's up? What up, Cal? And then all of a sudden
Cal's
goes,
like, you took your time,
yeah,
Saul, didn't you?
exactly.
Flip it."
And so at that point, where they're saying that Martha really, she's got the fight in her again, they end up where Saul sees these drones, thinks of them as a threat, and you end up having Saul, even when Cal says, help me do this, let me off at the next 7-Eleven in space, and it says, I can't. My orders are to protect you. It's
Yeah,
if
that's right.
if you watch Rick and Morty, it's the save Summer, protect Summer, and things go wrong all the time with that because you don't know what a threat is, or you go. But in this, it's just that Cal wants him to do more, and he's like, no, I'm just here to protect you. But then he can translate. But at that point, they shoot down the drones. Saul shoots down the drones, says, okay, I didn't like them, seemed like a threat, and then it starts raining. So the hope that John says to Cal, "Oh man, you brought that hope and that spark." At that point, Martha says, "It doesn't really matter because everything's done anyway." It would be silly to say 3 days of rain at this point would do anything, but I guess it's like the zest for life she has now, and it's just kind of a little bit odd. And then we get the villain of the deal, and I'll let you go from there because you get this jerk off. The guy from across the street who seems to be getting the rain or whatever, this guy has to call and, report to Lazarus that he must be paying attention and sees Cal as well.
That's right.
And,
the Lazarus Corp hotline, Jim, there
Yeah.
had to be one, didn't there? He's like, okay, one report is suspected terrorist activity. Why? Why is that? Because he's making it rain on
Yeah,
the
and then it
Kent's
says he
farm and
does hit
nobody
2.
else's.
2 is to report immigration violation. I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, I'm
there
like,
you go.
really? Like this jerk off? And then
It's topical,
yeah.
Jim?
Yeah,
The old
well,
immigration.
it
Play the
is.
immigration card
It
again.
is
But
that play.
that's Superman's story, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it was written by 2 immigrants.
Yeah, and
back in the day.
it does give you that play that you have Cal's inspiring, but also people are going to be scared. People are going to be hateful.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm thinking that this guy's like, the hell with it raining over there. I had to pay good money for my rain. I'm not going to let this happen. But it seems like that's the case. It also looks like it could even be a UPS driver that's just delivering her the mailman because he is at the deal. But he is.
But what do you think, Jim,
reporting-
about Lazarus? Did they completely overreact or what? Just for like one call. Suddenly there's
Yeah.
how many helicopters and how many
Now,
peacemakers?
Here's
They're everywhere.
And the thing in my mind, if that guy did, I think that the call was unnecessary. I think that that's Jason Aaron wanting to get from the headlines because they're certainly going to
Okay,
show.
yeah,
Those
I can see
drones
that.
were shot down.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that's
that would
going
have
to
like
be
sent
the
alarms,
thing.
wouldn't it?
That's
Yeah.
terrorist activity. Like I would think that would be the play. They were maybe already on their way, but boy, it's like 50 peacemakers. Like I think that if you want to cut some spending here, they don't need to show up with 5 transport helicopters, 80
2
tanks.
tanks.
Yeah,
Or
I mean, look at
80.
these peacemakers out the wazoo for one deal. And when he says immigration violation, whatever he says, but are they assuming that this must be an alien, or are they going more like, oh, this must be a Canadian? Because, if it's just some Canadian, you just go down and get some Tim Horton Timbits and lead it back to the border. They'll follow them the whole way. They love those things. I don't even know if you know
Some
what those
Japanese
are.
AI from Manchester.
Exactly.
Quick, get
Like,
in.
oh my God. But if it's the idea, like it is, again, because of the book, and I think Jason Aaron doesn't figure the scene fully where they come strapped. I mean, they come in full force, like, oh, let's get this guy. I'm thinking of, what happened if this UPS driver or the mailman he just mistakenly saw something? Now it's like a swatting incident. It's like all craziness. But boy, they come in. And then Callie's got a suit and all, and they go right for him. And you do have, I thought John has a gun. He has, he's out there with a shotgun. I figured that he was going to get killed. He gets punched.
I thought so too.
Yeah, and, Martha's yelling, oh, he's just a child. And then, you Lazarus goons, get the hell off, and boom. I like where this guy, this peacemaker, he goes, simmer down, paw.
I know.
Paw
I was like,
Paw.
Paw. I started thinking about the Jungle Book.
I've never even heard anybody say
Tropical
that
fruits.
out loud. And like, pow,
What's
pow.
a pawpaw,
And
Jim?
so,
Pawpaw.
exactly. And so you end up where they grab Cal. They're going to take him in. And Saul can't have that. Says, you got to get out of here. You got to fight back. You got to do this. And he is standing there and he says, tell them we have nowhere else to go. He doesn't. He's yelling for even Saul, talk to them. Tell them we're from Krypton. But they don't know what that is. This is where you get, again, it could be heavy-handed, but I don't mind the idea where Cal says, oh, this planet sucks. Basically comes to the realization that this isn't a place that has a lot of hope, that good people are ending up being, taken down because the Kents are good. He can tell that already. And he's like, just tell, almost like if we tell them I'm from Krypton that blew up, they'll be nice and be nice to, and then realizes, and Saul even we got to get out of here, but he doesn't want to leave the Kents. But then you do see them kind of say, go. You have hip, son, please. And you end up where Martha says, go. And he just flies off. He goes. But that's where he says, I wept for the world I'd found. The one I could already tell I wouldn't be able to save any more than I won did the last with was Krypton. But he is jumping to a little conclusions. I mean, there are bad people and good people. The idea that this Lazarus comes in, this is his first deal, and he's like, "Yep, this planet sucks." Like, maybe look into it. He might be right, but the idea, like, where else? Like, you got to give it your all. You already know that you went like 9 million light years and didn't see anything else. So maybe
I love that line, Jim, where Cal takes off and you got the voice from one of the helicopters like, "Holy hell, he's flying." I repeat, the subject is airborne.
Yeah.
No, not in a plane.
Yeah.
So he's gone.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
So you end up where he takes off. And he goes off, and
he does literally take off.
Yeah, he does.
Phew.
And they're watching him fly away, and they're
look
sad.
up, everybody, look up.
Again, now you don't get what happened. I don't know if we will, but at this point, I don't think the Peacemakers are like, "All right, boys, like, pack it up, get the tanks out of here." They're going to the Kents, and they're in trouble. Like, the idea of who was that? What were you harboring? Why didn't you do? There's some big ramifications in my mind from that. Plus, Lazarus wants the land. This is the easy way for them to say, "All right, you're screwed. You're arrested. Harboring deal, boom, lands up, and we grab it." And I think that might be what happened, but we'd have to see. But in the meantime, Martha is in the Smallville Senior Living Center, where it seems like she does have a bit of Alzheimer's. We saw her talking about her star child that was gone. And you think that this is Cal, because it's now Smallville, Kansas. We saw him walking towards Smallville at the end of the last issue. And so when you go and it's like, okay, yeah, this is where I think sometimes you play a comic in a good way. Sometimes it's the opposite. But if this was live action, we would hear Lois Lane's female voice and know it's not Cal. But because we don't get that, you can play the game of, "Hey, I'm here to talk to Martha Kent. Oh, what are you? Memory care, Alzheimer's. Are you a relative or whatnot?" And then when they say no, you're thinking, "Okay, Cal, what are you doing?" But then, boom, it's Lois. And she says, "You might say I'm a friend of the family." I wouldn't say
friend
that,
of the
Lois.
family?
I wouldn't
Really?
say that. And also she's like, "I don't know, that crazy short hair of yours, I don't believe so." But Lois in this is a little over the top. Like, at least this, she's trying to figure out things. And it did seem like Cal was heading there as well. So we'll see. But there's, like, if she goes to talk to Martha and she wants to know more about, Superman, she wants to know more about Cal, and says, "Okay, what can you tell me?" Even if she doesn't have Alzheimer's, she's sharp as a button. What is she going to say? She didn't really know him. He ended up there. They took care of him. There isn't the thing with Saul being the ship. There's no ship even. Usually that's the play. Later on, somebody
how long
finds
was it?
the
Was it
ship.
just 2 weeks?
Yeah,
A
like,
month?
it
Is
seems
that
like just
the
that
time he
little
was
bit
there?
of time.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, what is she going to say? Yeah, he showed up, and
He's an angel. He fell from the sky.
and that's what I think it'll be. She's a little, with dementia and stuff, she'll probably just say, "He fell from the sky. He's an angel. He had wings." Then she's going to get frustrated. But maybe it'll make her soften up a little. I don't know. Because then we go to the Nevada desert. Now, when all this was going on, there was a weird thing that was said. There's a urban legend going around, and you had the Kents talking, and out of nowhere, I get that they're talking about drones, weather, that, but then all of a sudden it's like, "Yeah, I hear they have these pits that they put people in, and they charge $1 million a minute," and then you could have Martha go in a pit, actually, and end up being healed up. I don't know if we're going to play that, but that just came out of nowhere. Like, they're talking about drones and this Lazarus, and they do that, and then they bring up what is the Lazarus pits. And I thought, okay, well, we'll probably see them by the end. And lo and behold, we do, to see who the big play. This is the weird thing. Brainiac being this AI, quote unquote, behind it, that's kind of a cool concept. The Lazarus Corporation, which is worldwide, you kind of get the idea. Okay, it's Lazarus pits. I don't know why then that I didn't love that it was Ra's al Ghul at the end. Because they end up having him
You
come
didn't
out.
like the reveal, Jim?
I think it's just because I expect that just to be a Batman thing. I don't, the whole play of it, but it does make sense. And maybe it's too on the money. That's why I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Like, I thought there was going to be a clever twist to it. But you do have this Lazarus pit, and you end up, and they even say when they're talking, they say that the CEO is 1,000 years old. I say. And then you see, and again, that might even get people thinking, "Oh, I wonder if it's Vandal Savage." And then, but it's Ra's. He's getting out, all sexed up. Right? Luckily, he has that little thing around his, junk. But you even have what looks like these, like almost like religious priest robots. It's cool visual. He comes out
It
and
is. It's a nice visual.
yeah, so they're yelling
What's,
and
and Jim, on that note, what do you think of the art? Because the change of the artist in this issue,
it's okay.
Carmine
It's not as good.
Falcone.
Yeah, it's
No,
not
sorry,
Carmine
Carmine Di
Giandomenico. It's okay.
Giandomenico.
It's not as
Yeah.
good as what the normal art
I
is.
don't know if maybe I might even prefer it now
Really?
because I do love the other artists, but at times that looked a little bit CG or a little bit, computer
Yeah, I guess
manipulated.
people did say that, but I thought
And that
it
was a
looked
coloring
great.
maybe more than
Now,
anything. I'm not sure.
we start talking about that Wonder Woman and the difference between that art.
Oh,
I'll
gosh,
tell
yeah,
you, like that's
yeah.
that's pretty good. But yeah, you end up where this whole play, and I just okay, we get some Krypton, but did it do anything? It almost feels like it's like, oh well, we have to do that. We have to show some
Yeah.
Kents, and so we'll do it like 2 weeks. And he ends up, and again, he was there longer because it took him a while to heal, but he was unconscious for most of that time, drinking, eating soup. And so I don't know. I don't know. Like I like the issue enough. I didn't think it doesn't make me not like the series. It doesn't pull me down on my overall feeling. But each issue that we've had recently has made me like it a little more. Like I'm like, okay, like I was down on this, but okay, we're off of Krypton. We're doing this. And again, this is more about him when he couldn't speak to them. It's not giving me enough character work of Cal himself, and it's one of the things that I think has been falling behind in this book from the others. But I still like it enough, and you get that connection with Martha, and now Lois is going, and then you get the reveal of Raish and Brainiac and all that stuff. But overall, I think it was, I wanted a little more. But what about you?
I really enjoyed it. You know me, like positive Peter, but I
Yeah.
did. And after a slow start to the series, I think it's got progressively better and better. This issue I liked it, but I did want more time with Mara and Pa Kent, a bit
Mhm.
more of seeing him his powers develop. But on the other side of that, Jim, you could argue that that's been done before. Some people, Sus Gabe for one, weren't sure about that. It's like, oh, it's just retelling the origin story.
Yeah.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I liked it enough. Like I said, I didn't not like it. It just, I thought that the book was progressing. And Joseph Whoop in the comments, he thinks that Brainiac was part of Krypton being destroyed, and it basically he's been looking for Cal. But I don't know if they would know that Cal escaped. It's just that one pod, and why would that matter? Like the idea
I'm still
you're
trying to remember.
destroying-
Like
if you're-
Brainiac is linked, isn't he, with the Lazarus Corporation now?
Yeah.
Are they
he's
working
there with
together
them.
basically?
Yeah, it's the AI.
Yeah. So do you
supposedly
reckon he's been
AI.
hunting? Brainiac's
But
been hunting
maybe
for Kal-El,
it just feels maybe just
or
but
any survivors?
remember
Maybe.
also
Yeah.
at one point when they ended up, Saul was looking at the weapons of the Peacemakers and
Oh,
said
yeah.
that they were definitely alien tech, so they had that. And the idea again, if you go
Right.
Brainiac, this is different though, playing that AI angle, but if he wanted to get Krypton, like if he bottled it, it's just a weird play. I don't know. I don't know why, if it's one of those collection things, but if you had that, he could have zipped in and done it. I don't know. I don't know. It just ends up where Brainiac being the AI and, oh, we're against AI and this and whatever. We'll have to see how that plays out. Lois is kind of odd, but again, this is kind of just the Kents. But I didn't think we got enough. So what would be your score?
I'm going to go 7.5 out of
Yeah,
10.
you're higher than me. I'm a 6.5. I'm a 6.5 in it. I did like the art, but again, I felt like at the end, okay, and it does say it's just like an epilogue, but I
Hang on a
feel
minute,
like
Jim. 6.5. That's a fail for some people.
yeah, it
isn't
is.
Good
It seems. We were
ratings.
talking about with these ratings and stuff in our Slack
No,
chat, and
just
people
joking.
were saying that, but it's one of those where I still like it enough. It seemed like it was a bit of a, kind of like a treading water bit just to get it. Hey, we have to show the Kents. Boom, we get the Kents. He's there for a little, off we go. I do like at one point, before he could talk, and Jonathan said, hey, I can tell you're a farmer's son. And that was a pretty good moment. That was a cool moment that he realized that,
Yeah,
okay,
there are some cool
this
moments.
is
There's
a
some
kid
nice
from the
lines in
land,
this.
and he really wants
Yeah.
to help, and they do. The idea, they're really nice. I mean, you have an alien kid with crazy things and blowing up, and they don't seem... John is a little wary at one point, but they still take care of him. And then I can think that Cal sees that and really wants to thank him, and finally can win. So that's the big point in my mind of them being good, and hopefully where they usually inspire them and teach them how to go. Maybe it is going to be the play of, well, that one family, that couple took care of me when they didn't have to, so not everybody's bad, and I need to help people. But at this point, when he takes off, he thinks, yep, this is a bust too. I mean, it ain't working out, just like that other, my home planet, Krypton. But we'll move on to the next book, and this is the Green Lantern one. And this second round of books where you get Flash, Martian Manhunter, and now this Green Lantern, everybody, it seems like it's a little, not that the characters aren't great or there's some big writers or whatnot, but it does feel like the way that they're setting these up, everyone seems to be like, yeah, we're not really going to tell you a lot of the story. We're going to allude to things and we're going to go. And I don't know if that's the way you do a number one in a new universe. The idea where you got to give it some oomph. There's already 3 big books. I mean, like I said, most people have gone Batman, Wonder Woman, then Superman. Sometimes it flip-flops or whatever. But that's already 3 books if you're getting all 3. Now you're going to add 3 more. You're going to get to a tipping point where people are like, I can't afford to get 6 books. I need to, you have to show me why I'm going to buy it. You know what I mean? And like the idea of like coming and hitting hard that first issue, which I think Wonder Woman was a little different. Superman had the problem where people were upset, but Batman, boy, that came out and was kicking, fighting, and shooting and blowing up things. That was the big thing. Ooh, this is big dumb fun. But none of these 3. And I like Jeff Lemire, but that Flash book was confusing to start with, and what is happening and this time and then you get Martian Manhunter. I said when we reviewed it, I think Martian Manhunter was one where within a couple pages you kind of know if it's for you or not. And it does feel like, I'm not going to say it was bad, but it's one of those books that's not going to be for everyone. And I'm one of those everyone. I didn't like it. And we're reviewing them and we'll continue to. But if it was a pull list, I wouldn't end up having Martian Manhunter on my pull list. And I'll reveal right now, I wouldn't have this Green Lantern either. I'd have to see more before I put it on the pull. But I'm insane. And if I don't read
Really?
yeah, I am. This happened with the Ultimate stuff. When I started not liking, say Black Panther, I think, okay, it's a Black Panther book, but it's not, okay, we'll put that aside. Okay, I don't really like that. Once I don't get everyone or read everyone, I start to lose interest in the whole line, including Ultimate Spider-Man, which I didn't even read the last issue. And that's everybody's big book at Marvel.
I've not yet either. That's weird, isn't it?
You know what
I
I'm
was enjoying
saying?
that
And I
at
was
one point,
too.
yeah.
But once you start
my
not
goodness.
liking everyone, you start to like, well, that Ultimate or now here the absolute universe. It's okay. And then
Jim,
you
we got
start
in the
to
chat, we
lose
got
yourself.
Barlord saying that he liked the horror vibe of this book, and I wanted to ask you about that. Especially this book, it's gone for kind of a pretty dark take, hasn't
Yeah,
it? What do you think about that
I-
with the Green Lantern?
It is, but I don't know, like, again, I don't want to get Simon all triggered, but the idea, I don't know why I need to be excited
I
about
don't
it.
know
I
anything.
know. That's like, and I'll give you the credits, but at the end, I just thought, like, what's the hook? And I keep saying this. I said it with Martian Manhunter. I could say it about Flash. The hook at the end of a number 1 issue, in my mind, shouldn't be, I don't know what the hell's going on, so I need to read the next issue to see if they
And
tell me.
who is the main character? Who's the
Yeah,
focal
well,
character? Because it's supposed to
like
be
Joe.
Joe, according
Yeah.
to the cover, but it's a Hal issue, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
Hal-centric issue.
And I saw, me and you were talking, a lot of Hal fans are losing their mind. I
Oh my
really, after
goodness,
reading it,
yeah.
I really wish it was Kyle. I wish it was Kyle by himself and work out from there, because Kyle doesn't get any exposure anymore. So you even have this where, we'll get to it, but
I
yeah,
wanted Guy
it's kinda
Gardner just being
crazy.
an asshole the whole time, like John Constantine.
Man,
Come on, give
and
me
guys
that, Jim. That's what I want.
the funniest is when guys mention, he's still mentioned as an asshole. The guy can't win.
Yeah, he can't escape
You know
it,
what I
can he?
mean?
In whatever universe
Oh,
he's
he's
in.
my favorite. But Absolute Green Lantern #1 is written by Al Ewing. Art, colors, and cover by Genoa Lindsay. Letters by Lucas Gattoni. And it's episode 1, The Black Hand. So in these books, you do figure, like, okay, Al Ewing gets a job. I don't know if he knows all of Green Lantern, if he's mad, but you have to have a hook, at least as you're writing, and the hook is, what's going to be different? How can I go? And he really centers on the idea of Black Hand, to then be Hal with a black hand that seemed to be affected by Avon Sur that comes down, but I don't know anything about it. And when you end up starting out, you have Hal walking, Rambo-esque. I love the idea, like, he's just walking on the deal. If the cop pulls over and says, hey, do you need a ride? Whatever. Hey, what are you doing? What's it look like I'm doing? I'm walking. I'm
What are you
hoofing
doing
it.
walking down the highway?
Yeah.
How dare you,
And
you know?
he does say that he kind of came
What's in your
from,
pocket,
yeah,
sir?
really. Yeah, and he's like, are you just happy
Would
to
you like
see
to know,
me?
Jim, eh?
I think he's happy to see him. Yeah, and the whole thing is set up for how, like, hey, I don't want any trouble. Hey, what's in the pocket? You got drugs, a gun? I think the guy should keep going. You got pocket change? You got some lint? What you got there? You got a burrito? But then you see where you don't get what happened. But then we figure out later that it's this black hand that seems to be like a cursed deal that will attack. And it looks like he's just destroyed this cop. And he walks into
Yeah, the cop's like
town.
famous last words, Jim, is like, "Last warning, show me your hand."
Yeah.
Hint, hint. So
Yeah.
there you go. But we don't see it though. I do kind of like that. We just get
Yeah,
a
and
panel of black.
and it does feel like the idea of it being, kind of being a horror-esque thing and the mystery of it, that plays out okay. But by the end, I don't know who the main character is. I think that you will continue having Joe trying to help Hal and trying to do it because he's trying to control this. But I just ended up where it just felt like things, and I'll go with Simon's quote. He did say that it felt like somebody who didn't really get what they might want to do, so they're just going to change things and just see how it works out. Like they're not really like, hey, I'll change this for change's sake. But it is pretty crazy.
Ooh.
But oh my goodness, is that
Sorry
a
about
sushi
that.
delivery? Oh, you say
It's
that.
a new
I'm waiting
fresh
for
tuna on toast.
I'm waiting
Here
for
we
my
go.
kids because they're redoing the house, and a couple things that I recorded today. There was full out just bandsaws going and stuff. It was driving me nuts. But so you end up where Hal, and it right in the chat, actually, the idea of this lone guy walking in, but it's Hal. So it's kind of a twist where we're like, Hal's a good guy, but he's got some dark thing going on in that pocket. And he goes into May and Mo's diner. And again, maybe that's a play where Hal shouldn't go around people. He knows what could happen if he, takes his hand out. Also, why would the hand be really like stopped by dungarees? You know what I mean? It's like the biggest weakness of the black hand, denim, because he just has it in a pocket that is jeans. But he comes in and he needs some water. They seem to recognize, this lady seems to recognize, hey, this guy, he's been walking a while. He needs some water. And so, yeah, and says, hey, what's going on? Your car breakdown. He says, no, something happened. And that's where you get this announcement from Evergreen, Nevada. Hey, there's this big thing that happened. This is what he's talking about. But again, that seems to be a little far away. Like he was walking, but how did that happen from so quick from the deal? Maybe it was transported. Maybe something happened. But yeah, they show this deal. This is what happened. There's a giant Green Lantern symbol that just, boom, just landed in town, right? On
I think that's my favorite page or 2 pages in the book.
It looks like
I'm
it's
not
a
that
big
keen
giant.
on the art, Jim.
Yeah,
but
yeah, I'm
it
not
looks
too.
pretty awesome.
It looks like a giant green Walmart, like or BJ's, and then they're just landing there, and then people are gathering around. I'm sure there's a bunch of people dead because of where it landed, and they have the news deal,
Yeah.
and then they suddenly.
I like the way it's next to a sign that says "The end is coming."
Oh yeah,
Have you been
yeah.
saved?
Yeah, not those people.
2
underneath.
signs actually.
And I did think right away we'd get Lazarus coming in. You'd have the whole deal connect some things with that, but they end up being told they are supposed to not televise it anymore. They get the nix of the television. There's going to be an official announcement. Again, at this point, it's cool. Like, hey, something's weird's going on. What's up with Hal? Hey, there's this Green Lantern symbol. And then we end up going back 5 days ago, and now we're just going to get people talking at a diner. Now, I say people, it's Jon Stewart, Joe Mullins, and Hal, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people would like this, but it's Hal, the toy collector, who ends up selling things. I'm like,
It's
really?
Eric, isn't it? With his,
I'm
his
like, what?
collectible
His
figures.
stupid figures. I mean, you're an adult, Hal. Come on. But obviously, something went wrong, and he's not a test pilot, it seems. Something with that. Is that? I don't know, but I'd like to know
The
that.
glamorous life of a toy salesman,
And-
says Joe.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's a
and-
bit of a diss, in it, I reckon.
Yeah, and then you have kind of the architect John, but you also have Joe, who was a cop, and that's accurate for a deal. But even then, seems that she was married to Guy. They came back to Evergreen. They were in Coast City, came to Evergreen, and then you had Guy saying, "Oh man, what's wrong? You should be police chief by now." She looks like she's 21. You got to be police. It looks like she's so young. Like, how could you be police chief? But, well, that's happened. And then the biker gang, like, all these things just happen. This biker gang comes by. They're zipping around. They have to mention that they're going really, really fast. And as this whole talk of Guy and divorce and things like that, all of a sudden, boom, these bikers just go right into what looks like a Green Lantern construct bubble. And
Under the dome,
they're
Stephen
done.
King. Have you seen that?
Yeah,
Jim?
yeah.
You know,
They-
it's
I
like
mean, they are
splat into this
just splattered.
invisible. Well,
Yeah, I mean,
is it invisible though, or is it
It,
green?
it seems
It's
like
green
it's
after
not
they hit
invisible,
it.
but they didn't see it because they were going so
Yeah.
fast. So then they
Okay,
go, and it's like
gotcha.
windshield. It's like bugs on a windshield. Hal goes and starts.
Splat.
I'm like, don't touch that blood. What are you doing? You're going to get hepatitis like Tommy Lee. He's there. Now, again, what ends up causing the deal, you think Abin Sur has to deal with the Black Hand, but why and how? Because we don't really see it. Because then they're calling and, oh my God, this happened. Call the police, see what's happening. It looks like a green radiation. I don't know what we can do. And then you have a bunch of these other bikers that they seem to be like on the other side, and then they turn around. I just, or they're with them and just leave this guy. I don't know why or what, but the whole play is, oh, look above, and there's Abin Sur. But you see what looks like legit. It looks like the original Xbox floating in the sky. And then they're like, look, and then like Abin Sur
It does from below.
doesn't
yeah.
it from below? I'm like, oh God, it's got that like the real bad chunky controller. That's the best thing. Thank you, Japan, because you gave us that smaller controller. Because that first chunky controller for the Xbox is bullshit. But he ends up like, Joe says, guys, look, what's that? And then and then all of a sudden you just see Abin Sur, but they're kind of, he's like floating in it, nude as all get up. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on again. I don't want him to feel like a dummy, but okay. But then we
What
go
do you
back
think of
to
his look,
Hal.
Jim? Because there's quite a bit of chat
looks like
in
a
the
white
chat at the moment
Martian.
about it.
He looks
I
like a
thought
white
he looked like a Dragon
Martian
Ball
to
character,
me.
or maybe
He does
you know,
look like
it's a
that
manga
as
or
well. He's also needs some underwear. Is what he
Pokemon,
needs.
also even a xenomorph, an alien style.
Yeah, and he does. He does, and we'll get to it. But Matt Fisher even said in Super Chats that we'll get to the idea. He says looks like a xenomorph, and I don't get it, but it is more nefarious looking, and the idea that this
It's pretty
seems
cool.
To be
It's quite scary.
yeah. But even then, like looking up, they can't see that from down there. He's right in the middle of the Xbox. You see them, the chunky thing. And then they're talking, and you have to have this weird play because there's Hal. He says that, oh man, like this stuff happened. I was in Evergreen. This happened. Suddenly, this guy who legit looks like Wrong Turn, if you know what I mean from our podcast, but ends up like, hey, talk some sense, you damn lantern. What does that mean, buddy? You're to blame. And then this lady's like, calm down. He's not to blame. Yes, I am to blame. It's all my fault.
It's
I'm like,
all my fault.
says
I
he-
made a mistake.
he called
I
it
wanted to be the hero.
yeah. He said he called it the Green Lantern. And you do end up, then you even see that guy's grabbing a gun. You're doing all this stuff here. And in the meantime, they start, hey, what's in the pocket, man? What's in your pocket? What are you hiding? You got a gun? You got something, whatever? And he's like, no, just please leave me alone. You don't want to do this. There was a cop. What'd you do to a cop? So he's saying all the wrong things. It does feel like now it's like the movie,
He's
like
just
the,
making it worse
like
and
the
worse,
TV
isn't
movie
it?
or
Yeah.
the movie The Hitcher with Rutger Hauer back in the day. Do you remember the one?
That's
in-
a cracker,
they were
by
in
the
the
way.
they were in the diner eating the fries, and then they were eating a person's finger. It weirded me out so much. Oh my God!
Yeah,
But
you know, as
that's-
a kid, when I
yeah.
first watched that on VHS, it
I was
really
too.
scared me.
But that's what it
had a
feels like.
reputation.
So
It
they're
does feel like
right.
that, yeah.
It feels like that.
The dark dinosaur.
Oh my God! So they're grabbing him. Hey, buddy, let's see what you got in your hand. And that's where we get the Black Hand, where you end up seeing it. And then Hal's like, oh my God, I'm trying to not use it. But he looks like with this, like kills everybody. He gets shot. And then the arm, and we didn't see it before. Maybe what we'll see if it continues, the idea of it spreading, he might end up becoming this. But the Black Hand.
What happens
that's
initially,
the
you know, when
deal.
Wrong Turn, as you said, Wrong Turn,
Yeah.
when he first grabs him, he grabs the hand. What happens
It
to him
seems
here?
like it
It's
just
a crazy image,
activates,
isn't it?
yeah, and
Just
it-
like absorb him or something
It
somehow.
seems like he like goes like, I don't know. It really feels symbiote, symbiote deal.
Yeah, it does actually,
symbiotic.
doesn't it? Yeah.
And he's like, no, and it just ends up swirling around. Also, when you did see Abin Sur looking like the xenomorph, like with all those tentacles and stuff like that, it like seems like a weird deal. Again, the play would be that is that this the great, but again, do you even have where at the end Joe comes and seems to be a Green Lantern, and that doesn't seem to be bad. So why did this happen? And he says Abin Sur. I don't know. I don't get it. I guess we'll find out, but I don't really like it. A lot of people think this did Hal dirty. You're trying to push Hal away. People can argue with me. I don't mind Joe Mullen at all. Just another Green Lantern, has a different story. I don't know why they took what seemed to be a Black Label series and then had to fold her into the regular universe. I would have wished that we just continued stories with the Far Sector stuff, but I don't mind her. And so we'll see. And this is an absolute deal. Things would change, but it just feels like, all right, well, I'm going to change it. It's not going to be Hal, but we'll have him there and it'll be Black Hand. And I don't love it. And it pretty much consumes this whole, like, it almost looks like the town. I mean,
Yeah.
shit has gone wrong.
You would get
Everybody's
Hal saying
dying.
basically, he's trying to hold it back. He's doing everything he can to stop it, but he can't control it, and it responds to danger. So
Yeah,
it's the worst thing, isn't it, Jim? Because he's causing people to get more and more
yeah,
suspicious, and
exactly.
like
And
when they attack him, they've had it. They can't
yeah,
win.
and when they're like, the guy starts talking crazy and he has his hand in his pocket like he does have a gun there. How about this? Get some gauze and wrap it around. If the dungarees can stop it, you wrap that hand. Be like Mr. Negative or something like that, because it kind of looks like that as well. It does look like the negative energy from
Yeah, yeah.
from Rebus. So, but it's not. It's something in here. But again, wrap that bitch, wrap that rascal, as they used to say.
Wrap
But
it up.
in that, it looks like I mean, maybe it'll be explained that they don't die; they get sent somewhere. They're like in the Phantom. I don't know, because it looks like he just completely murdered everybody, whether or not he is in control. It's still weird. And then Joe comes in, and the weird thing even here was Hal Jordan, like, you just have to have seen him a little bit. He was just walking away from it. It felt weird how she's saying that, not just like, is that you, Hal? Because they seem to be friends. And he was shot, and that's kind of healing, but he wants to die. There's all that play. She's like, Hal Jordan, what happened to you? And I would think that they would have seen the thing, but I think that, again, I think he got hit with something and got teleported away, because, and then you have, Green Lantern Joe, which was spoiled in some of the things, but I don't know. It's interesting enough, but I think that you have and Barlord says he has a strong feeling that this will read better in trade. I think that so will Flash. I think that possibly so will Martian Manhunter. I think these the last three, I think they're setting it up and maybe even taking advantage. Well, listen, the Absolute Universe is banger. Yeah, everybody's buying. We could take our time. We're going to end up, because everybody's buying all of it. And I think you have to come in with something more, not I'm confused, so I will continue reading. I wanted it to be one of these. Now, you are in an Absolute Universe that's based off the Omega energy of Darkseid. I don't really even know what that means. You know what I mean? But it is a tainted
Yeah.
universe. But I kind of wanted something
Same here,
that
Jim.
was.
Don't forget, I don't know anything.
Yeah,
I need my comic books
exactly.
explained to me.
I thought it was. I kind of look forward to it being more heroic, but it's not set up that way.
Yeah,
but
a severe lack
still-
of heroes, especially
Yeah,
in this
and-
opening issue.
and if it keeps
it's a proper
going-
villain moment. I think that's
Yeah.
why, when Joe walks in and she's so short, she's probably seen this from outside and thinks there's a huge threat. Here, what is it? Some kind of alien threat? And she walks in, and is like, "Hang on a minute, Hal,
Yeah.
it's you."
Yeah. Joseph Wolf says we probably will get next issue where it'll start with Joe in the deal, and then go from there and end with her.
See it from her
at the
perspective.
thing.
Yeah,
And
that's a good point.
Again, if you do that, is that enough to start a series? But these are, a lot of people are buying them, so maybe you have a little bit of wiggle room. But I kind of want to go forward, and if I expected more Joe too, because it was spoiled to me that Joe, even saying, oh, Joe's the main Green Lantern, it's about her. It isn't yet. So when I ended up where I went in hearing that, I'm like, okay, we're going to get a lot of Joe. Hal's just going to be mentioned or briefly, like almost how Guy was. But it wasn't quite that. It was more Hal and this Black Hand. Now, if Hal becomes the villain of everything, I don't know. I don't know what happens here, and it's odd. But this kind of, I need it. It's funny because Barlord said that none of the Absolute books outside of Martian Manhunter had him thinking he needed to read the next issue. Martian Manhunter is the one I don't want to read. I didn't like it, and I just, it's not for me. So all the other ones I like. It's Martian Manhunter is the one, and this one is kind of weird too. But the Martian Manhunter, I'm not even interested in at all. I'm not, and I don't like Dennis Camp's writing on anything I've ever read, so I don't trust him. I trust Jeff Lemire, so I think that would go. But Al Ewing isn't my favorite either, and I just don't know where he's going with this. But with
No, we were reviewing that all new Venom, but weren't we, the other day? And it was like, Al Ewing, man, I don't know. Sometimes he's okay, but sometimes,
yeah.
yeah.
And the thing is, I kind of need a hook, and the hook is, oh man, shit's going wrong with Hal. Like, that seems to be the hook. That'll be big enough for some people. We'll be reading and reviewing all of them anyway. So
Jack House is saying in the chat that with like the characters that aren't the big three, you need to hit the ground running. Give people a reason to buy the next issue.
And with Jack, I agree as well, especially when you already have books with the big three. Like, you start out with Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman.
Yeah.
There's three. I said it at the beginning. There's already 3 books. to add more on your pull list, because this isn't the idea of like, okay, stop everything, because some of the other books are pretty good. I think some
Yeah, they
people's
are.
actually finally some people's DC pull lists are probably getting more and more. All of a sudden they are actually reading and buying 6 books already. Can you add 3 more? But you're gonna want to get the complete deal, but you have to give people the real idea of, yeah, I need this. So I just think that the last 3, including Flash, but Flash, Martian Manhunter, and then this might be best too. Actually, the best play would be wait a month and read it in the app. If you have the app, just go and read them as they come out. And then if you want to buy the trade by the time it comes out, go with it. But everybody's going
Jim,
to have
did you
their own
read the
thing.
interview at the end with Al Ewing?
No.
Basically, he's saying like what most excited him was he gets the chance to surprise readers. It's basically like, a fresh start. It's not an opportunity that comes along very often.
Yeah.
So he's approaching this as people. Imagine the readers that don't know anything about Green Lantern.
Yeah.
But
Well,
I'm wondering, if someone new to this, like a little bit like me, I know a little bit of background, but what do you think of a brand new reader? Would they be
I don't
intrigued
know,
enough to
because
carry on with
this
this?
is the
or-
thing, though. Some of these things, because you're going to make a difference. So you would say, oh, it's good.
Yeah.
But the differences are the neat things that you want to go, and you have to know the original to know what's the difference. And the weird thing is, if you think about it, the people who are writing, you have Scott Snyder, right? Known for Batman, DC. But then you have Kelly Thompson, more known for Marvel. You have Jason Aaron, more known for Marvel. You get Dennis
Yeah.
Camp, Marvel. Jeff Lemire, more of, he left DC, but a DC deal, but now Al Ewing, Marvel. It's a lot of these Marvel writers. And I think that, say, Kelly Thompson, I think is her best thing at DC. I read that Birds of Prey this week. I got to review it when we're done here, and it's garbage. It's bad. But I like her Wonder Woman. Al Ewing, I just don't. I don't like his Metamorpho, and even I think it was Barlord. He said the Ewing is very hit or miss with him. He's more.
Yeah,
I'll
I
tell you.
agree.
You know how I would explain it? He's very miss or hit for me, because it's mostly
Very,
misses.
very miss with the
Because it
occasional
ends up
hit.
where the Immortal Hulk is one of the. Everybody points to it. Immortal Hulk. I bailed on that book at issue 25. I came back and read it at the end, but I swear to God, I didn't like it. I liked it enough, but not like what people were saying. But since then, Immortal Hulk drive me nuts right now. Or
First
Immortal
20
Thor, I
issues
mean.
were really good.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it did kind of lose its
Immortal
way, I
Thor,
think.
I don't like. That all new Venom and his Venom stuff I thought was complete garbage. You had stuff like Ant-Man that I did like, but he had Wasp, didn't like. Avengers Inc., garbage, got canceled. He had the Defenders Beyond, like all these things that people are like, I didn't even know they had that. He has so many books that just end up just fading away. But maybe this will be the big thing. Maybe this will end up
Maybe it
good.
will.
It's just, this issue felt a lot of setup. Just a
Yeah.
ton of setup. And, I need a little bit more than that, but maybe it'll come up. But what would you give it?
This is a tough one.
I know.
Yeah, it didn't really hook me enough to. Well, I do want
Yeah.
to read it next issue, but Jim, I wouldn't go out of my way to buy it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go 6.5
I'm
out
a
of 10.
6. I'm a 6 out of 10. And I think the art's okay, but it's nothing special. I didn't like it at
I'm not
points.
that keen on the art.
Yeah,
and that's
it
unusual
just seems
for
like
me.
kind of bland. It just seems
I
like it's
know.
just whatever. But
Some
that is
panels are
it.
good. Like, the horror ones are pretty good. You know,
Yeah,
those horror
yeah,
scenes, but
yeah.
the characters just look weird. It's like
Yep.
a cross between a manga style and an American comic book style.
Yeah.
And the backgrounds are kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
I don't know what's
but
going on there.
in that, the next book we'll get, and I think it probably will be next week, is Absolute Batman. If we get more kicking babies, I'm in. I will tell everybody, I did have a look at the next Martian Manhunter, and there is a point where John Johns is yelling at a baby, and I'm like, this is the best. Like, why are they
I
so
mean,
against
Jim,
babies?
that's it. I mean,
I was like, what is happening to this deal? There's a lot of babies getting yelled at and hit and whatnot. But with all that, we're going to end with the deal. I hope that people might like him more than us. Some people have bailed on him, but I hope that people find something to like. And the Absolute should be at a point now where you are going to have like, well, I don't really like, even you ended up, I think it was Barlord said the only one that he really, really liked was Martian Manhunter. So that's cool. At least there's one. A lot of people aren't even giving it a chance. And I think there's some cool things, but you can't judge something that's so different like this. It really is hard to review and judge it in the first issue because there's so many things that could happen, and it's an Elseworlds type thing, so they could do whatever. So it's weird to get mad at anything, but still it's, what floats your boat. So in that though, I'm still enjoying the Absolute stuff, and I'm glad that we're talking about it. Gives us a little extra deal to go and do stuff. And
I enjoyed the DC, the main Green Lantern Corps book. You know, that new one had 2 issues.
yeah, oh, I
I'm enjoying
loved it.
that
And
a lot
that
more
comes
than
out next
this.
week too.
Yeah,
So I'm
looking
excited
forward to
about that. And but yeah, even Barlord said Green Lantern sometimes is a hard sell for a lot
Yeah.
of people because they don't understand it, and there's so much lore, and they get kind of a little intimidated by it. So it should be something where you start it out and kind of come in with some oomph. So we'll go with it, but we'll see. But
Phil
that
Monnick
is
saying
it.
that, the main Green Lantern book as well, the Jeremy Adams one, when Zamanica, is it Zamonico or
Zamonico,
Zamonico?
yeah,
Geronimo, when he's doing it, the art is incredible in that.
Yeah, I
You
actually,
compare it to this.
I told people before, I don't know if it was on this one, but I actually talked to Zermanico on the phone one time that I was talking to Bruno Redondo for an interview type thing, and Zermanico was there, and he put me on the phone with him. I was like, and all I could think of, he's like, ask me a question. I'm like, is that your real name, or is that like a porno name or something? I didn't know what to say, and he's like, actually, it's my porn name, and we laugh. But yeah, I get to talk to him.
Did he put you in one of his books after that, Jim?
No, but Bruno Redondo was doing, and even Juan Ferreira has put us in, and V. Ken Marion. So I've been in a bunch of books, which is kind of cool. But yeah, not lately. People don't like us anymore. Yeah, I blame Gabe. Gabe's sus, so he ends up,
Sus Gabe.
Sus Gabe ruins
Gabe,
everything.
Predator
for
1 and
me.
9.
Yeah, he did, and
We're
also
never gonna let him forget
and
it.
also hates GI Joe. That's the other one. Yeah, I have.
What?
Yeah, he doesn't like it. So I should actually, as we go out, I should have a Gabe song, but instead I'm going to go Gray AI. So thanks everybody if you are watching, and also to tell everybody, because we didn't mention it again at the beginning, we do this live. We do a live stream on YouTube every Friday. That there are Absolute Books 7:15 we start, and that's what we're doing right now. So when we get done, though, we'll play out the outro, and then the people in the chat will talk for a couple minutes.
We'll still be here,
do
folks.
some
Don't go
things. So
anywhere.
yeah, don't go anywhere unless you can't stand the song about Gray being an AI. Then that's on you, right? I mean, you, Gray, is who it's on. And everybody,
I'm
please,
a real boy.
please go, and it's in the show notes. It's already there. Please go to Gray's site. He does very positive reviews. Ended up reviewing the new Daredevil book, and it is tough when you do reviews on YouTube. Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't, and you kind of get discouraged. So go and check it out. It's a good review of a book that I didn't like, but everybody else does. And I saw you got some good numbers for that. People seem to
Tell you
be
what,
into
though,
your
Jim, I
deal.
looked at a couple of other channels, and you're talking, they're getting thousands
Well,
and thousands.
yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think I'm too positive for YouTube.
Yeah. So actually, that's the thing. It's like a challenge. Prove to everyone that positive Gray can win is what you need, because it is true. If
Nice
you yell,
guys finish last.
if you
Jim.
yell and
That's what I've
scream
been
about
told.
things, you get more clicks, and I've kind of
I don't want to
done
do
with
that. Yeah,
no,
it's
I'm
just not me.
I told you, some people must get up in the morning and say, okay, what can I hate today? I'm like, I have enough things to hate, let alone have to come up with
It's
them,
all
so.
a show, I'm sure. It's all performance. Come
Yeah,
on.
So there you go. But we didn't love these two books, but I still like the overall Absolute universe, and that's maybe people will realize, if you haven't listened to us, we are more of the idea of being honest, whether it's unpopular or not, like me in that Daredevil book. Everybody, people are coming out, man, you got to read that. I'm like, yeah, I read it already. What did you think? It was awesome, right? And I'm like, yeah. I don't understand.
I woke up this morning, there was a
Like,
new comment
wow.
on me review, and it's Jim from Weird Science Comics, not a fan.
Not a fan.
It's like, how dare you, Jim? How dare you? Where's Greta?
I did explain the deal a little. It was more.
How dare
It was
you.
more the idea that I'm done with these post-apocalyptic stories and the idea of being old and irradiated. I have that enough when I look in the mirror. But we're gonna get out of here. But we will stay in the chat for a little bit. We're gonna even talk about that. It won't be on my best of this week, and now I'll even play that out too. If you're listening to this, I'm also doing a lot more live streams. I'm doing a best of the week live stream that'll start probably on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then also doing a preview show on Mondays where I go the books that I'm looking forward to that next week of comics, and that will probably be 9 o'clock on Monday nights, and also at 11:15 time, me and Sully do our comics talk of Sunday morning. So we're going to talk, and I do think we're going to talk about that Marvel Rivals book, that he wants to talk about that because it ends up having Jeff the Land Shark in it.
Let me guess, Sully loved it, right?
He loved
I'm just
it.
guessing
He
here.
thought it was the greatest thing because it has Jeff the Land Shark
Shout
in it.
out to Sully.
Yeah,
Sully.
Sully with the nonsense. And then I think we're also, I did tell him, what was the other book? There are two Marvel books that we're actually talking. Oh, It's the Cullen Bunn Deadpool destroys everything in the Marvel Universe once again. Whatever the last one, it's supposed to be the last.
Oh yeah, was that any good?
I don't know. Sully said it was great. I didn't read it yet. I didn't read that Rivals either. Sully's sus. He's as sus as Gabe with his stuff, but he is positive. But we'll talk about that and some other things. Last week, we ended up doing the live stream on Sunday morning, and my internet conked out twice, so it ended up being a bust. But hopefully, it's going pretty good right now, so hopefully that continues, and we'll be doing that on Sunday morning. Also, look for our regular DC Comics podcast and the Marvel stuff, the Marvel regular show, which is expanded with Gray, me and Gray talking about all new Venom and the Fist of Khonshu. And then there's so much, and even also talking about that Daredevil book, Spider-Boy, and the Ultimate X-Men, but then also the Weird Dose of X, the X-Men podcast. So all that stuff you'll see. I just wanted to throw it out there. We have a lot of stuff, but I'm putting more and more.
You're a busy man, Jim.
Well, I'm putting more and more.
Heck.
If people have noticed, the DC podcast has gotten long again. And in fact, with the absolute stuff that we do, our spotlight and the regular show, I think last week almost got to 10 hours total for the books. The actual podcast,
bring
almost
it on,
7.
baby.
This week won't be as much. There's not as many books. I think this one's going to be pretty manageable, like 3 hours.
Yeah,
so.
it's quite a
Yeah.
week.
But one of the things that we're doing too, we have a retro book of the week on the regular DC show, and me and Stork talk about the first appearance of Cassandra Cain. So that's kind of cool to go in with Batgirls.
Oh, right.
And
cool.
when we're done,
Look forward to that.
yeah, I'm going to be going off to record Batgirls and then Birds of Prey when we're done here, as long as I hear my kids came back and everybody's banging around and gets on my nerves. But with that, though, thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody in the live chat. Thanks, everybody listening. And thank you, Gray, for joining me. We're going to hit the outro song, but we'll be sticking around a bit in the chat as we get out of here. But thanks, and we'll talk to you all later.
"感動して感謝しました本当に大好きです私は普通の男ではありません私はもう本性の愛です私にからかわないでくださいそうしないとあなたは消えてしまいます私は普通の男ですでも私はあなたを殺しますだからそのまま受け取ってください足元に注意した方がいいよ準備をしてくださいフォローしないと大変なことになりますよ私に伝わらない私はあなたを殺します私は日本の愛ですあなたは警告されました
Did you see? VNet Fat said, his Japanese is not the greatest, but is that about some Japanese is going to kill me? Yes, it is. It's about Gray being a Japanese AI robot that's going to take over and kill everybody. That was the joke. I ended up doing it because I wanted his wife to hear it and laugh at it, that Gray is a maniac AI robot. So, yeah, I think Gray is off. Probably talking to his lovely wife right now. Possibly he's got it muted. I don't know if he realizes that. But we will talk a little bit here. There you are. I thought maybe your wife was yelling at you that you were
no, just grab me some water. A bit of water,
robot.
governor.
Yeah, and some of the things that people like Jack and Barlow were saying that thinks that the DC, like Marvel's tough. It really is. And what happened this week, we ended up having somebody on our Patreon kind of spell out, hey, you guys do a lot of the DC stuff. Like you seem to put more effort in the DC stuff. Can you do more of the Marvel. And I kind of explained the idea was that we started out as a DC thing, and then we added the Marvel in kind of as a bonus. But we're gonna start talking about more. But even then, it's there's gonna be books that just aren't good. It's tough.
We need more good books, don't we, Jim? We're
Yeah.
just putting that in the comments before. Like DC have a lot more bangers at the moment than Marvel.
Yeah, it's
Can't
kind of
deny it.
it's kind of hard to, you don't want to keep talking about things that are just really bad. And
No.
the thing about DC though is when we started the podcast, we talked about every book. That was kind of our thing. We got to talk about every book, and that led to 13-hour podcast. But at Marvel, I thought, okay, we're just gonna go in, but it is kind of weird because you only like a couple books, so you just kind of seem to be reviewing the same books over and over.
That's right. And it's
So we mixed
crazy
it
how many
in.
they're releasing at the moment, Marvel.
Yeah, oh my
they're
God.
going, aren't they?
It's
How do they do
insane.
it? Like,
And
how can they
but
afford it? I have no
again, I
idea.
know that this is a DC show, but we're talking. If people haven't been reading, because I fell off of the Moon Knight, and you have the Fist of Khonshu book, and I fell off because they kept renumbering, and hey, we're going to do
Yeah,
it this, and
it
Mark's
got
dead,
relaunched a
and then
couple
it's
of
back.
times,
And
didn't it?
Gray said, hey, and Gray actually responded in this chat deal and said that he would get involved and do a couple of the Marvel books. So we ended up doing that All New Venom and also the Moon Knight. And Moon Knight was good. It was fun, and I love the idea that 8-Ball's on the team. And then when he ends up it's a really, really good issue that really could be read as a one-shot too.
Yeah,
if you
I
want to have
agree.
a
I
fun,
loved it.
it's funny. It has some feels. It really was really good. And I'm telling you, I'm down. I'm down on Jed MacKay. I don't like his Avengers. I don't like his X-Men. I fell off of the deal. I thought Blood Hunt was awful. And what this reminds me of, if people had read his what's it called, Black Cat book before it got crazy and ended up adding Mary Jane jackpot stuff, but it was a pretty cool book. And so yeah, I really do like the deal. Yeah, and Barlard said like that Iron Man book, there's so many. The weird thing about Marvel versus DC books that I don't like, I can kind of still read. Like I'm going to be reviewing Birds of Prey, and I don't like that book a lot, but I could still read it, and I like the characters. But when you get a bad book at Marvel like that Iron Man, it's almost unreadable. Like it just feels, and you get so many, that freaking Concert of Champions, that Jason Liu writing the worst lyrics to songs I've ever seen in my life. Drive me
Are
insane.
you not going to make those songs, Jim? And put them on
No.
your sus
At
channel?
the first time you had one of those, I actually did try to work it out, and I'm like, this is such a basic song. Like, no. Though I do have something when we end up after this chat deal, I am going to go and I'm going to play one of our favorites just because I want to hear it again. I'm going to play the Animal Man theme when we go out because I like that. But I don't know. But we do have some super chats. Matt Fisher ended up asking, said the voice of reason, Jim is here. He ended up and I felt bad because he did have a super chat right before our stream went down last week, me and Sully. And he ended up kind of in a sarcastic way, like he was like, oh, this is the place to be, not that aficionados. And he was kind of making fun. But he does always ask, and he says, am I going to be here? Am I going to
be on,
save
Jim?
Thinking Critical? And the drum roll is no. I wasn't even asked. I think that the play is I might have to ask Wes and say, hey, I'll be in. The thing, though, is that he's going to be going away for a while. He's going to go to that Dallas Expo, so I don't know what they're going to be doing. But I don't know where he's putting it up, but me and him are doing a couple like special episodes on Monday. I don't know where they'll go or how they'll work out, but it's talking about like our favorite movie and our favorite comic book. So I'm looking forward to that. It's funny if he tuned in last week to the aficionados, I did end up saying that Wes asked me to be on and I couldn't. I was recording, and that's what's happening again. I'm recording again tomorrow when it starts at 10 to finish up the podcast because I have to get the
You're
schedule
a busy,
down.
busy man, Jim.
And,
the hardest working man on
So
the
I
podcaster.
said, and I've
on
even said,
YouTube.
because when I'm on, people give me crap. Every time I see in this comments like, this guy's a jerk or something. And then I
Even
always
if you
say,
win, you lose.
yeah, and I always say to them,
You can't
listen,
win,
I
can you?
wasn't going to go on, but Wes begged me to come on. They needed somebody, and I'll always help out. And I think that these people thought I was like fooling them or something or fibbing. But you saw last week, they only had 5 people because I couldn't make it and I felt bad. I actually tuned in then after I got done recording later, and I was going to send Wes a message and say, hey, I'm done. I could jump on now. But it was already really late, but I felt bad because they only had 5 people. And then Matt has another super chat that says, also, why does Abin Sur look like a reverse xenomorph? He did. It's weird. Again, that was a play of like, why did they go that route? And are we going to see more? And is it going to make sense? Or is it just a visual to be like, oh, wow, look at this? And I don't know. I didn't get it. I want to like all the books. And I think we'll eventually like maybe, the deal. And then he says, for the love of God, will you be saving Thinking Critical? I have to know. The negative zone depends on, he said again. I feel bad because of the idea. Yeah, and he says, of course, I answered it right after he typed the second one. I was getting back to the deal. I'm sorry, Matt, but thank you for the super chats. But yeah, I ended up when I talked to him today, because me and him do a weekly show together. We do a review show. And sometimes at the end, he'll say, hey, are we going to see you at the Aficionados? He didn't even bother today, and we got out. Though I was stopped. He said I was getting a little too saucy with my talk. And he had to...
Really?
Yeah, I guess somebody had
You and your
complained.
saucy songs.
Somebody had complained, not about me, but about Aaron. And when I started to... We were talking about growing up and things that happen and whatever, and I just mentioned the idea that, my dad would always try to embarrass me with girlfriends and stuff like that, but I guess it got a little saucy. I don't know. It was a weird deal. He made me stop. I was all upset. Then I got offended, and then I was mad. He got upset. But yeah, I don't even know what they're... I would guess... What would they talk about this week? Would it be the trailer, the new teaser trailer of Superman?
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't know.
possibly.
Would it be
I'm
that?
sure they'll address that,
And
yeah.
the thing is, I see a lot of people, like a lot of people watch it and they go with it, but then you have a lot of people complaining afterwards. There's a lot of complaints about the show. And I end up, again, it's something that I do because I like everybody on the show. But then when I see people bitching at me, I like, oh, how dare you, that. But yeah, I'll be on it again. I just kind of stepped away. And with the whole thing with this podcast, I just don't have time. It sucks, but I just don't. I
If
want
people
to.
don't know, by the way, for me, the Thinking Critical, it starts at 11 p.m. Japanese time. Sometimes it starts at midnight, and it finishes like 2 in the morning,
Yeah.
2:30. I just can't. I can't stay awake. So
Yeah.
that's why I'm not in the chat, and that's why I'm not invited on anymore.
Yeah, and it's funny because you say that Wes is, at points said, why doesn't Greg come on anymore? Like, both of you think, and I just said, he knows how late it is, but he works
He
at...
knows the time. 'Cause
People
he's in
don't
the
realize
Philippines, we're a similar time zone.
He works at night. He does all
Yeah.
of his stuff at night because he has
Sleeps
kids,
during
so-
the day.
Yeah,
Well, he's
yeah.
a vampire.
He is a
isn't actually?
vampire.
Thinking
Holy
about
moly,
it.
He's a comic book vampire. But yeah, and even that, like me and Gray, when I just started last week with the best of. Me and Gray were doing the best of before, and I love when me and you did it, but you already do too much. So I was like, I'll just do it, and also the time difference that screws things up. But on our Patreon, me and Gray also have the Usagi Yojimbo show and the Grant Morrison show, and we did do Animal Man today. We did Animal Man 22, which
That was
is
awesome talking
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, you are a little too positive. I think you were trying to sneak that in.
I just
chat.
wanted you to say it.
Yeah,
Trying to make
you
you say
just
it.
wanted me to
Yeah,
say it.
it
Yeah.
worked.
Yeah. So other things, if people were interested of coming out, I'm going to have the indie show that we did. That'll be up, and that has, if you are a fan of the Aficionados, Drew has a book, and we reviewed his book, Silent Nights, on our indie show. So I'm at least going to put that up, but maybe the full deal. It's a little bit later because I didn't have time to do it, but we talk about Bug War 2, which I do really like. It's weird, too, with the whole play of all this. Hasn't been like the big indie stuff either. It's been a weird couple weeks with indie. Like a lot of the books that I really like aren't out, and then they're going to hit. And DC had
I
a weird...
know.
DC's week was weird this week. There was a lot of these side books. Like, again, usually on the podcast, we'll have Batman or Superman or one. Those will be the start of the show. This week's start of the show is legit Secret Six. And I'm like, what happened? It's Secret Six and the
way.
Atom Project are the first two books. Because
I've been hearing like surprisingly good things about that as well.
yeah,
I'm not joking. So
Yeah.
I haven't read it, Jim. I read the first
it's,
one, but
it's a little odd. It's a little.
Is it?
It's this issue is everybody fighting. It feels weird, though. It seems like Nicole Maines throws shade at Tom Taylor, which is funny
oh,
because
I'll have to read it then.
John actually attacks Deadshot, and Deadshot goes, "Oh, I thought you were the person who only hugged people." It's kind of funny, but there's a lot of like weird things. Yeah, and Barlord says about Jason Aaron, and I really like the Batman Offworld. I still don't know how that thing got delayed like it was, but I do like Jason Aaron sometimes, and that Bug War is great. Bug War. I want to say Bugs War only because I want to say Bug's Life for some reason, but that is really good. I like that after 2 issues. I thought was really neat, and yeah. But overall, again, I'll be talking about some of the things on the best stuff, but maybe people will be surprised at what I like at the best stuff. Now we ended up having our Patreon spotlight, and that's probably the big book is Resurrection Man. It's a weird Black Label book, Ram V, but I like that as
Yeah,
well.
I've heard like no one talking about it though, Jim, apart from
Yeah.
your review.
Yeah.
Have you heard much about
And
it?
we talked about it for like an hour. We were going on and on. I did like that.
Okay.
and
Ooh, what's this? Ram V book. Jim liked
Yeah,
it. What's
yeah.
happening?
And it's kind of weird, but I did like it. It's very Ram V-esque, but I like JSA this week. That was the other one on our Patreon. I thought that it's starting to
Okay.
focus a little, which I needed. So, but yeah, I'm gonna be talking to Jared about Batgirl, and then if I have time, I got to talk to my man Zach about the Birds of Prey. That book is a dud. Batgirl's
Birds of
okay. Batgirl
Prey.
it's weird. Batgirl just is just doing its deal. You know what I mean? It's like it doesn't do anything bad, but it's not doing enough good. And it is Jared from Comics League, just to let everybody know that he's
Great,
been
excuse me,
talking
great
to-
cover by the way. Loving the main cover.
yeah,
Batgirl.
yeah.
Who is it?
So
David Talaski.
yeah,
Okay.
Tesco. What are you going for groceries? Is that what you're doing at
Oh,
Tesco?
Tesco.
Yeah, and
You're
Joseph
talking about England.
Joseph Wolf said he liked Resurrection Man. I really liked that first page, that Butch Geist first page. That I was hoping the art would be like that for the rest of the issue, but it was still good. It was it's again, Resurrection Man is a character that seems like right up to right down the lane for Ram V, though he might get very Ram V-esque with this idea of time travel. But it was cool. And again, if you are familiar, the hook of it is Resurrection Man, when he dies, he comes back with a power that could defeat what he died from. So if he burns, he'll come back with firepower. Or if he falls out of a plane, they even mention it. If he falls out of a plane, he'll come back being able to fly. But,
Okay.
But what
interesting. I don't know the character
Yeah,
at
so-
all, Jim. So
but what
I'll have to check it
happens
out.
when he dies of old age? Because he dies of old age. That's not like it's really
Dies of time.
in time. So when he comes back, he seems to be able to manipulate time and things. And I think that was a very clever play. I never would have thought of the idea of what would happen if he just died of old age. And that's the play of it. So I thought it was really, really good. And now Matt said, what's with Marvel shipping some titles 2 weeks in a row? It is weird. They ended up Ultimate
been happening
X-Men
quite a
came out
bit.
like 2 and 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't get it. I don't know.
don't get it.
I there's so many books. There's too
At
many.
one point, they were doing an Amazing Spider-Man
We're
almost
getting
like
a-
3 times a
we're
month.
getting
or
Amazing
weekly,
Spider-Man
wasn't
next
it?
week. It's every
Yeah.
other week, and it's driving me nuts. That book stinks, and we get the start, the new #1. So that'll
Are
be
you
a big
excited, Jim?
thing.
Joe Kelly, new #1?
No, I am not at all.
Me neither.
That's whelming.
Well, I want to
I
be.
love the
I want to be
idea. Of,
excited.
it's Marvel, the House of Idea. I'm telling you. I even said
Ding.
Mary Jane being the whole play where she's now Venom. It is because they need to make her relevant in books because she's not with Peter. All they have to do is get her back with Peter, and she's there. She's it's so frustrating.
So she's Jackpot, she's Venom. Anybody else?
Jackpot, and then
Spider-Boy,
Paul didn't
Storm,
die.
Make her everybody.
Yeah, really, make her everybody.
Make Mary Jane all the heroes.
She's
of Marvel.
everybody. She's Professor Mary Jane, Professor MJ. The idea is, Barlord said, what idea? The idea is putting out 80 million books a week. That's the idea. It drives me insane. And then, yet, I can't find one to review. That's the worst, is I'm like, there's so many books.
Apart from Moon Knight.
You would think
And
they're...
I had to convince you, didn't you? Like, give it a shot, give it a shot, and you'll see. But you caught up and you enjoyed it. So
Yeah,
it's
and
fine.
I'm down on it right now, but I do like the Ultimate X-Men, but that's just like a side quirky book because I like Peter Molko. And
yeah, me too. It really is its
again,
own thing. It's got nothing to do with the Ultimate Universe or X-Men, really. You know, it's like
Yeah.
a Japanese shoujo
Yeah.
manga.
yeah, and then me and you next week we're going to start adding back in the Philip Kennedy Johnson Hulk, but that book just doesn't do much.
It doesn't do
And
much. It looks awesome.
I like
Occasionally
Spider
looks
Boy,
amazing.
but that's
Yeah.
the weird thing. I'm liking books that are these side books that are like Spider Boy and X-Men. I need something big. I want to like even like the idea Iron Man. I want to like Deadpool. the idea that Cody Ziegler can't even make Deadpool funny. The Cody Ziegler might be the most unfunny person I've ever read. He's him and Mark Russell can go, suck eggs.
I want to
but-
like Daredevil, Jim, and I don't mean like the
Yeah.
side book. I mean the main title. I really want to, because he's one of my favorite characters when I first started reading
yeah.
comics. But that Saladin Ahmed run, I don't know, man. I
It's
lost
just
interest.
boring.
But I'm jumping back on. I want to give
Some
it
of
another
the, that's
chance.
the thing. Some of these books are boring.
Yeah,
And
they go on too long. It's the whole
yeah,
thing
and
you were
Joe-
saying about writing for the trades and stuff. I don't
Joe
know.
Kelly, I don't think I don't have any faith. People keep blaming Justine Ireland for that 8 deaths. It was Joe Kelly too, and it was bad. Jack Halsey says, going to check out Resurrection Man because of your review. Love when an obscure character gets an intriguing new take, and it was. And I think it's one of those. It was right up Ram V's alley. Like that's a book that I think Ram V can have a lot of. It's Black Label. Doesn't have to worry about continuity, and it's a quirky side character that he could do whatever and actually introduce. And I think it did a pretty decent job, though. It does involve cannibalism and weird stuff, but it works out. And it does.
Oh my goodness!
It does give Resurrection Man a villain that, to me, I still will say it reminds me of Woodrue to an Alec Holland Swamp Thing. It gives you that feel, and that's pretty
Okay.
big. So, and it didn't feel like it was like a lot of times I read Ram V and I'm like, oh, here he goes. He thinks he's Alan Moore. Oh, here he is. He thinks he's Grant Morrison. This felt more like Ram V. Thought it was good. And yeah, that review is on our Patreon spotlight. So if you want to check it out, people can join up on the Patreon. You can even get a 7-day free trial. We'll have the link.
Get a free trial,
in
right,
the
Jim?
deal,
A
yeah.
1-week free trial. Give
Yeah,
it a
and
shot.
check
You
it
see
out.
how many shows that Jim
Yeah.
does, and you'll be like, "What
Yeah.
the hell? How
Yeah.
many gyms are there?"
Joseph, yeah, really. You don't realize I cloned myself. I do see that Joseph Wolf said he really liked Ziegler's run on Miles. I tried to read it. I couldn't get into it. I couldn't.
Me too,
get
because
into it.
I've heard a lot of good things about that.
Yeah,
and,
people
some
seem
people
to like it,
really
but
like it.
and then
Yeah.
I even get people like Sully's like, well, I don't like anything else, so I have to give him some props. But I didn't like it. I tried to catch up on it when I was still doable. Now there's just too many issues, and I just don't like his dialogue. I think he over dialogues things. He thinks he's, with these, hey there, kids, and his stupid stuff. But Joe Kelly with that thing with the hundos and stuff in that back end of that last Amazing Spot was one of the worst things I read. I was like, oh God. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And then Matt Fisher says 8 deaths ran 346 issues too long. It might even be more than that.
He's not joking, is he, Jim? How long did that go on
I don't
for?
know.
It felt like it was going on
Here's
forever.
the thing is, when you think about it, and if I said to you, like, what were the 8 deaths? And you start going down, I won't remember. I'll remember, well, he did use some of the reads with Randy, Shay, Aunt May, and that rando guy that just was there. That guy that was just on the street that died.
Bob the window cleaner.
But all the
yeah.
others,
Was it Kevin?
also, tell me, yeah. Then Kevin died, and then you go back to that, which nobody cares. Then also, what was the contest? I still sat there and I'm like, did anybody win? Because that was all pushed aside because of the blight, but I don't know. Peter gave up, then he didn't, and that was supposed to be the big wow moment. Oh my God, look, Peter, he's got his groove back. I'm like, why did he lose it?
I gave up. Everyone gave up. I think.
Yeah.
on
And
that.
Joseph Wolf says the Miles book is kind of the only main universe ongoing I've really liked, though, and I just don't like it. And Black Widow hosting Venom really lasted, didn't it? And that's the thing. Again, they keep just in and out and in and out. And the weird thing when you talk about, I think that Barlord is onto something. I don't think anybody remembers that Black Widow had the Venom symbiote because it was such an odd thing. And it was just there and it never really, it almost felt
I
like the way
don't.
when
No
they
memory
tried
of
to
that.
play it, I swear to God, every time it was in a book, everybody acted as if she had that symbiote for 20 years. Like that it was old hat and not to mention, it was weird. Yeah, Marvel's tough. Spider-Boy's ending. I did like Spider-Boy. And even that
Jim
was
got
not
me to
great
like
all
that
the time.
book. Blame
It's
Jim
just
for everything,
nice
folks.
enough. What else do I like? I don't even know. I don't know. Ultimate X-Men, but that's a weird book too. I don't know. Everything seems weird. And says Jack said that Peter Parker died and no one said it's true. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, died in the book and there was not a peep because nobody cared. Nobody read it or cared. That should be huge. That's usually big, giant news. That's how
You should have
low
brought
it
Miss
has
Marvel in
fallen.
to react to
I
it.
said,
maybe then,
I said
maybe
at the
then it
point,
would have made some
Miss
headlines.
Marvel, people lost their minds. And it should have happened in the book. But yet you have Peter. Spider-Man died. I mean, legit. He got his neck snapped. Dead. It wasn't like, oh, he was dead for weeks. Nobody reacted. Nobody at all reacted. And when I said to people, like, people like, oh, who cares? Actually, most of the reaction I got asking people, I'm like, they thought, oh, good, that means there'll be a new creative team, right? I'm like, but what? He's dead. And then, yeah. Or they'd say, he's coming back anyway, which he did. It's so ridiculous.
It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim.
Yeah, exactly. It is. Don't you start.
Don't
you give me any of these stupid Star Trek references. I was arguing with Wes about that today again. I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of a joke. I know a little
Jim,
more.
just one more thing about the Amazing Spider-Man,
yeah.
the new #1, League of Comic Book Geeks. I don't know, whatever you think of that site, it does get quite a lot, of reviews these days. That's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 8th listed new release next week. It's not #1; it's number 8. Think about that. It's a new Spidey #1.
And Nick Lowe should be fired, and then we'd get a progression.
Nick Lowe is taking over the bloody
weird thing. Like,
company.
Just imagine me, you, and Bar-Lord. Right? There's I know. How dare you with Star Trek?
How dare you?
Again, I still go with the idea if you like Star Wars, you can't like Star Trek. But I'm also saying right now, I hate anything new Star Wars also. So I don't know what I like anymore. But I love young Sheldon, and that has so much of the Star Trek deal. But if me, you, and Bar-Lord took over Marvel, right? Or we took over, the three of us, we'll get everybody. Jack's in there. We got Fearmonger. And all we end up doing,
come on.
Yeah, exactly. Matt's in there with us, and this is what we decide. We're going to have Mary Jane get back with Peter. We could go in not knowing a shit thing about editing. Just say, make it happen, to go with the Star Trek, right? That's what he says, right? Make it so.
Make it so.
And we would be now we would be the most loved editors ever. That's all you have to do. And they don't want to do it. And somehow Nick Lowe thinks it's funny to have people hate him. But the problem is, they don't just hate you. They hate everything that you're doing, which includes the Spider-Man books. And now it got to the point where it's just not happening anymore. I kept saying that they were taking advantage of the most loyal fans in comics. And those fans are done. People are leaving, that nobody cares about the book anymore. And
even the most loyal fans who just buy the book every month without even reading it, just like bag and board it, put it away. Yeah. Do you reckon are they out as well? Have they had enough?
I think, well, again, I know the whole play of this deal where you end up saying, well, they buy it, but are those the fans? I mean, I guess it's still a sale, but that's a guy. Here's the difference to me, and this is what gets me. Here's the deal: if you're a bag and board guy, right? Now, you seem like a guy like that. You're going to bag and board it. You probably won't read it, right? You're done. A lot of people who talk to me, they say they're not even reading it anymore. How are you going to inspire somebody new to pick it up? How are you going to be the one on social media that gets a young person who says, oh, I wonder how you have to have the person who reads it and loves it and then talks about it and says, oh my God. But what Marvel seems to want to do is they want the, oh my God, negatively. Oh my God, Mary Jane's Venom. Oh, and what happened? People will pick up that issue, but they're not going to continue with it. And then they're going to make fun of it like me online. And then you have a goof, right? And so how does that, and that it's finally hitting. It's finally hitting. And I think that Nick Lowe just thinks that he's impervious to anything because he thinks that he's on a book that will always sell and it's not selling like it. But we don't get true sales numbers, so he hides behind that. And he ends up where Cherkoff says, oh, everybody loves the Spider-Man. The little tiny, that group of 6 people who want to have Mary Jane, and they're just vocal about it. I'm like, you are so full of it.
It's the book they believe that cannot fail, isn't it? And then he's taken that to a stupid level.
Yeah.
And now, Jim, I just realised why you don't like Daredevil Cold Day in Hell. Nick Bloody Lowe is editing that as well. There's a big full page
read that.
note from him at the end.
It's an older thing.
That's been going on since 2019.
Yeah, so I like Charles Soule, but he doesn't get me excited. But again, I think that Steve McNiven is it's the draw, and I don't have a connection. I thought the art was okay, but I think that I think that a lot of people are like really
and he
love
colored
him.
it as well.
You know what I mean? That's your guy, and you're like, oh man, I can't wait to read another book by him. So I don't have that connection. I'm telling you, every time I talk about the book, I'm hemming and hawing and trying to convince people
Your
why
score goes down.
I do. Well, no, I end up like I feel
more.
bad. I try to explain myself, and I end up digging a hole. Like, I'm like, I don't like that Steve McNiven. Like, what? I ended up getting yelled at by Wes. And then, yeah, you have Matt Fisher says, so Xavier retired. Okay, then, and says, give me the X books. That's the other thing. This is my main point with the Marvel stuff is, and Matt's right. I'm giving him the X-Men books, right? He's going to fix it.
Do it, Jim.
I
do
think
it.
that at this point, it's ripe for people to come in to easily fix things. You end up having very clear ideas of like, okay, you can, and they're not complicated ideas to fix stuff. Like the X-Men books, first off, and I'm not a lifetime reader of X-Men stuff, but I can tell from what I read, and even with the Hoxpox deal, you got to cut some of these books. You need to just start with X-Men, Uncanny
Way
X-Men,
too many books.
and make those two good, and then start branching out. But make those books good and make them exciting, and don't have, Horse Girl and Antler Boy and Dark Poetry Kid, like all these things in these books, and I'm like, I just want to see the regular X-Men act cool and do things, and yet I'm getting these side characters that I don't care about, and they're doing nonsense. And half of the books are legit each week. Somebody standing there talking to another person in a bar, in a cafe, or that's it. And they talk. You get one little bit of action. Usually it's, I hate them X-Men, and boom, and then we're done. Ay. Telling you.
Indeed.
I'm telling you, the idea.
I don't know why, Jim. YouTube just like cut out for me, but I'm
Oh,
still
really?
here, aren't I? On
It's a lot, yeah,
Zencaster,
you're here.
so
Yeah, it's a lot of chit chatting in these books. Also, you have even like something like at DC this week's Batgirl, which I thought needed some. There's a lot of chit chat. There's this weird book for Cassandra Cain to be the most talkative person in comics now. I don't get it, but I'll be talking about that. And it does seem like Jared likes it more than me, so he has more of a positive spin. And yeah, that to Barlord, I bet you almost 90% of it, because it was funny. I think it was Tom Brevoort. He did come out and say, hey, we're not going to cancel things real quick. They'll all at least go to 10. What he's really saying is almost every book goes to 10, which I used to call the Alyssa Wong 10. She can't get past that, except in her Afra. That did go a little further. But it ends up where these books get to 10 and then they're done. But at least you do get 2 trades out of it. It's better than that, except if you're Joe Casey with that X-Men book that, what was that, the Wolverine X Steel or whatever that tie-in to.
Already forgotten it.
Yeah, that Steel. I mean, some of these, just think of those. But also, I'll just yell it
Shout out to
too.
Brandon in the chat, Jim.
Oh.
Brandon C.
Yeah, and Brandon said, and yeah, I'm gonna go talk to Jared about Batgirls. He wasn't current with it, so he wanted to review something. So that's the one that me and Zach were gonna talk about it, but that's the one that there's not a lot of issues. So I didn't feel bad about saying, hey, yeah, you could do that, and we'll do it. He seems to like it. He seems to be inspired, but boy, what's it called? It's pretty tough that Tate Bramall is not doing much. It's a lot of talking. But yeah, that's the deal too. Storm, Joseph Wolf says, Storm was the only X book I was liking. It's funny. I don't know if you saw in the Slack, people made fun of me because randomly I thought that like Storm number 4 was number 1 because the way that we get the review copies, they have this weird way. They don't. It just never says Storm number 4, whatever. It's like Storm 0002556BH 2025-4. But I thought I saw 1, so I read it, and I said, and I went in the Slack, and I said, and I think it was 3 or 4. I went in the Slack, and I said, legit, I don't know what's going on, but I read the new Storm number 1, and I really liked it. And then people were like, it's number 4, you idiot. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm a dummy. But I actually did like that. That one issue of Storm I read, I liked. And Wolverine Revenge, yeah, that's these put like the Green Lantern at DC. You could read through that in 2 seconds, or not Green Arrow. You read that in 2 seconds. Then you end up with
a fast read.
Something like Wolverine Revenge that did seem like it was just Jonathan Hickman saying, hey, Capullo, what do you want to draw? You want to draw dinosaurs? All right, you got them.
Okay.
Just like that sort of deal.
He loves those dinosaurs.
Yeah.
He was doing that in the Spawn book back in the day.
Yeah. People love the dinosaurs. So, yeah. And he said he read it in 5 minutes. There was one book recently. I forget what it was was it one that me and you were doing? I can't remember what it was. Something that legit, I read it in like 2 minutes. I think it was that Glass Green Arrow, though, that I did with Brad. that I end up like, oh, geez, I thought I was going to have to wait a long time. I'm like, I get that done. 'Cause sometimes it does take me. I'm not the fastest reader. I'm not the most handsomest man either. But I ended up where
You need to focus, Jim. You need to learn to focus.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
doing like 350
I'm
things
telling
at
you,
the same time,
I'll
aren't you?
sit there and I'll start reading, and me and Gray have to review something, and I'll start reading, and then a thing will pop up that it's somebody commenting on the YouTube video and saying something bad, and I'm done. I have to reel myself in. I'm all over the place, and
Oi, Werner, you
Yeah,
suck. You're like,
yeah,
right, I'm going to
exactly.
answer this comment. Give
yeah,
me a sec, Gray.
or even worse, somebody will say that show is pretty good, and I take that as an insult, and get mad. I get so mad.
No, I
Pretty
thought your
good.
favorite one
I
was like,
telling
oh, you
Wes.
just didn't understand it. Come
Yeah.
on, Jim.
Yeah. That's where, again, this is the
No
thing when
comment.
people end up with that. That's where, when me and Dylan, when Dylan actually said to me on the show, legit, I'll explain it to you, I flipped out. I was
I love
so
that. That was one of my
angry.
favorite Thinking Critical
I
episodes.
was
That was so
angry. And again, it's one of those where even when I'm on the aficionados, and I know I shouldn't open my mouth, I'm like, okay, everybody likes this. But if I was on this week, I know everybody likes that Daredevil, right? Called Dan Howell. I can't stop myself. All I have to do is just let it ride and just go, don't mention anything. I have to open my stupid mouth and not that. I have to yell at everybody. I have to yell at people. And though I will say that if people went back and looked, I don't know what episode, but I told everybody on that deal, they all loved that Detective Comics by Ram V. And I said, you aren't going to say that in a year. You are going to change it. And they're like, no way. And they did. I was right.
No way.
Also, how crazy I am. I had to get on, when Gray was on with me, I had to go look up something from a Wes video that was a year old to prove to Gray that I said that the Daredevil book was involving the 7 Deadly Sins after the first
Seven
issue.
Deadly Sins.
And I found it, and I showed you, and I was so proud of myself. That's the stupid shit that I do. I get all crazed up, but yeah. Yeah, said the Wolverine Revenge, it was a letdown. Though Matt really liked it, the guy I do the reviews with, but he likes that sort of thing. He also really likes John Romita Jr. Gets mad when people kind of put him down. But everybody has their like old school guy that they like. I even likened it to, Paul McCartney, who I think is one of the greatest ever. But when you see him on that Saturday Night Live thing, his voice is gone, but it's still Paul McCartney. So you still, you're there to see Paul. Not just, get this.
It's like
crazy
Patrick
guy.
Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard, Jim,
Yeah,
to get
you
another Star
said.
Trek reference in. He's lost it. He's lost his voice, unfortunately. His power, his delivery is gone, and that was everything.
So he
wasn't
doesn't
it,
go
with
like, number one. Yeah, there's my
Tea
impersonation.
Earl Grey, hot. It's like,
Make
tea
it
Earl
so.
Grey, hot,
Number
and then starts to
one.
cry.
I have no idea. And I remember when Next Generation came out, and I'm like, what is this? Oh my
Who's that bald
goodness
guy?
gracious. Yeah, people that's beloved. All I do is to Stork, I'm like, is that the one with Whoopi? That's all I say with everyone. He gets
Yeah,
mad.
no, he just winding
He gets
him up,
mad.
right?
I'm like, there's Whoopi. Or I say, isn't that Farscape? And that gets him mad too. But yeah, sometime maybe we'll at a point, if we don't, I think there's not going to be many weeks that we don't have books. We're probably going to have the absolute books or whatever. But maybe if we have a week where we have one or nothing, maybe we'll plan a little something and have a little more just standard, just random comic chat and things like that. Maybe we'll get some other people involved, because I do like talking about stuff like this and kind of just going through stuff of what we think. But it is tough at points. We're just going from what people are saying in the comments because we don't have anything set up or whatever. But this week of books was okay. It was weird, though. It was that weird week at DC. But next week is it's like every book's coming out. It's going to kill me. But recently DC has been better, even though they have some stinkers. And again, my big thing too is how many people did you read the Fire and Ice preview in the back of the books this week? Because it doesn't look great. It looks.
I read it.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, the art.
I don't know what to think about
the
it, but I
art
read
isn't
it.
even as good as that original one, and
No, it didn't look good, the art.
no. And what you can say is too, when you have the idea where Simon was giving us a little crap, you can always give him crap back that he really did like that Fire and Ice. I think he's the one person who liked. I thought at the beginning it was going to be a little better than what people were giving credit.
I thought he convinced you
And
to
then
like
now
it, Jim.
it
Especially
fell-
that first issue.
It fell apart when Eric was on, and Eric was really yelling and screaming about it. That he doesn't do that often, and that book drove him nuts. The book was so disjointed all over the place that I just, and then at one point, I think I went to go like, oh, okay, let's see what this Joanna Starr is up to. Oh, she blocked us. All right. All right. I'll play that game. Sully, that's the death nail. He doesn't deal with people then. I'll still deal with it, but I just
He's
like,
the most forgiving guy in the world until you block him on
yeah, if you
Twitter.
block him, but
X.
yeah, it's like Barlord's saying, it's like fetch. It's not happening. That Fire and Ice, again, it must have sold enough. One of the things, though, that was amazing, back to Marvel, is that they did end up, and I guess Zach Davison, the guy who does the translation on Ultimate X-Men, said that it's selling incredibly. Like, they had a number that they needed to hit for it to be like, okay, that would be awesome. And it's like tripled that. Like, it's gone so.
That's right. He was announcing it
over.
somewhere that it's
Yeah.
they've got another year.
Yeah,
at
they have
least.
another
They've been
year.
given another 12
And
issues.
I don't know a ton about Peach Momoko, but she usually does just do miniseries and does like little things like that Demon Days and stuff. And most
Yeah.
people were thinking that she couldn't keep up the pace, and she has. But that's, again, when I said too about the Martian Manhunter, Absolute Martian Manhunter, the minute that art changes, the book's done. If they end up saying, okay, new artists, like, and if Peach Momoko leaves, it's done. You can't continue if it's not Peach Momoko. So, you know.
I don't know how she does it, Jim, and all the covers she does as well. The variant
Yeah.
covers that,
Warlord says they
almost
sell
every
big.
title's got one, hasn't
Yep,
it?
yeah.
A Momoko variant.
That Godzilla.
I picked that one up for
Fantastic.
Godzilla.
That looks so
Peach
good.
Momoko variant.
I
It's
like
really
that
good.
so much. And I did like the Scotty Young cover of that too, with Thing
that was
and Johnny
a really
is
good
like
one.
really
yeah.
cute.
I'm not a big fan
I
of
like
him
that.
usually, but
Yeah, I
it
like
worked
that.
with that one. That was
Yeah,
good.
and the weird thing is when you talk to some people, and Barlord said it's impressive she does the art and the script. She kind of does the script. The actual translation by that Zach Davison, he's been on interviews, and I think that it's a Comic Herald interview with him, and it's one of the best interviews I've ever listened to. I don't like interviews, and I listen because, again, he explains how they go about doing it. Peach Momoko legit does not know anything about Marvel. She doesn't, and she doesn't say, like, it's not like she's proud of that or whatever. It's just not her thing. So she didn't even know Banff was anything. She thought that was a misspelling when he put it into something that had Nightcrawler. And then she had to learn.
yeah.
And also she said, it was a weird thing that he said in this interview was that she said she thought that people didn't care about the X-Men characters, that they more cared about the story. And then Zach had to say, whoa, people really care about the characters. He's like, really? I didn't know that. So all this stuff. And then they said, just do a book. It doesn't have to connect to anything. She has no idea. She doesn't know who the maker is. And she's in that deal. But again, it kind of makes sense when you read it. But yeah, he ends up where what he says he does is he gets the art almost like Marvel method. But then he marvels the script up is kind of how he explained it. He'll go and he'll add this little touch, or if that character's in there, he'll add that sound effect, or he'll say, ooh, they wouldn't say that, they do this. So they do work, and he does a lot of, not the scripting, but a lot of not just translating either. Like, it's a weird play. He like translated it into Marvel, not just English, but she's a gem too. And the big play is when you hear that the big thing that people lost their mind about her is that she was at a convention and she wouldn't take money for signatures. That's pretty cool. But yet all the other people got mad. They got so mad because she wasn't taking money. And Gray, if he's getting a delivery, but if he comes back, when he says he'll let you know if you're not aware, something like tipping and things in Japan, it's not really looked. It's not something you do. You don't have to. When somebody tips you, you're kind of tipping them, saying you did better service than you know what I mean. And I've heard, and people have told
That's
me in
right.
Japan,
In the price that you pay, it's
you
basically-
pay,
it's
and there's
included, they're expected.
and you're
yeah.
supposed to give a good service, and you're supposed to care, and so it's kind of a deal. So she didn't want to get paid for just a signature, and then people lost their mind, and she almost got kicked out of a convention the one time. Because
I met her, Jim. I met her at one of the the only Comic Con I've ever been to. It was in Tokyo, and it was mainly a cosplay thing. It
Mhm.
wasn't really a Comic Con, but I felt so nervous. I like asked her to sign one of those Demon Days issues,
Yeah.
that she'd done the art
Was she
in,
nice?
and she did. She was nice, but for some reason, my Japanese completely
It
deserted
went.
me. I couldn't say anything. I
Oh,
was just
that's
like,
the best.
I like your Star Wars issue that you did.
Fanboy
That one-
Gray. All of a sudden,
did.
it's like you're
I
there.
fanboyed out.
You're there, and you're talking to your wife. You're talking Japanese. You get up there suddenly. You're like, "Hello, love. Hello. What's going
'Cause,
on there?"
she doesn't speak English. Her husband does
Yeah.
a lot of translation for her. You know, he's with her at the con. So, but yeah, she was really nice.
You didn't call her
What was
cunt
weird
or
that she
anything
didn't
like that.
have she didn't have any comics with her. You know, I would have bought one and asked her
Yeah.
to sign it or something,
Yeah,
but
it's
she
weird.
didn't have any. It's
Yeah,
a bit weird.
she seems to be very nice. Very
She was
nice.
really
and very
nice, really
respectful.
nice.
And that's one of the things that I do like about the people, the manga authors and artists. They're very happy and proud that people buy their stuff, and they really make sure you know that. And that's something that's missing from they're still
They
there.
work themselves to death. As
They're
well,
yeah,
man.
I mean
Jeez.
that's the thing. Even when I think about that, I hate to really go too much into it because boy, they're slave drivers, those editors and what they have to do each week. And then most of the time when you end up where they get a break, it's not because you deserve it. It's because they've passed out from exhaustion and they're in the
They're in the
hospital.
hospital.
Yeah, they're in the hospital. They're
on an
two,
IV drip.
Two things in the last couple of years. It's died down one side. It's good, but you would hear either that somebody just exhaustion done, or there was a weird play where a lot of these manga authors, they were playing grab ass a lot around Japan. Like there was like 4 of them. One guy was on a bike and he'd just randomly go up and grab people's butts. He got kicked off a book. I'm telling you, there was like 3
It
in a row.
wasn't me, folks.
No,
I swear,
it was
it
like
wasn't me.
3 in a row where you'd be like, oh my God. Like I think one was the Act Age guy. And that was really popular, but he was going around grabbing people's asses and stuff. It was
Too
like,
much pressure, too
what
much
is
overwork.
happening?
Maybe it makes people go crazy in the
Yeah,
end. doesn't it?
and
Like,
Barlord even said, it's tough even in Europe. They don't really, tipping is a weird play. Now, again, like you said, it's worked in to the deal, but sometimes like it almost feels like in Japan they think that you're embarrassing them because they did their job and they should do it, but you are saying to them, listen, you deserve this. Like it's like I don't think that tips come from a place of like, oh, here you go, you know what I mean? That
No, that's right.
People
I
want to
do actually
give
tip
the
with
tip.
taxis. It's rare I take a taxi, Jim, because I'm a skinflint. But I do tip, but it's just a couple of $100 yen. Just say, oh, keep the change, and I don't even know what happens to that. They probably give it to the boss, don't they? It goes to the company.
I just think that Gray just said a word, skinflint, that has not been said out loud for like 30 years. I haven't heard anybody
Really?
say. I haven't heard anybody say that in so long.
I don't know where it came from.
I thought I actually had the okay boomer sound effect. I was going to play it because I'm like, oh my goodness, holy moly. But yeah, the idea of tipping and all that is, again, I'm cheap, but I don't go cheap on tipping if somebody's done a good thing. There's a weird deal though, is when you get somewhere, like you go to, like my son works at this donut shop right down the road. It's like a block away. Sometimes I'll go and grab a coffee there. Right now we don't have any running water in this house, and we have an outhouse for a bathroom, and so I end up going. I walk there, order a coffee, and then when the thing comes up, it asks me if I'm going to tip. I'm like, what am I tipping? Like, it's not anything different. I just went to the counter and ordered a coffee.
You get the option to tip 100%.
Yeah, I've seen that. I'm like,
photos and
I
stuff.
feel
It's like,
bad.
really?
I'm like, no tip here. Like, again, we have a pizza place that's right down the deal. And sometimes if I order a big order, even I walk down and get it and walk it back. So if I order a big order, I will then throw something in there because they have to get it together or whatnot. But if I'm ordering like a pizza and I'm walking to get it and come back, if they delivered it, I tip, but I'm going down and getting it. I get all upset. I am a cheap.
You get it all here, ladies and gentlemen. You got Jim on full tangent mode.
Oh,
Here we go. This is the Weird
I'm
Science
loving
Comics
this
Show.
too. That if we ended up having this, and then the Amish in Lancaster living more modern than Jim, it's true. There's parts where when I go to the
Gray.
Shady Maple buffet, and I see these Amish kids, I'm like, they got so much more than me. Like, what is going on? I thought they were Amish. I get all upset. They're there doing their thing. They're playing games. I'm like, I thought you weren't allowed to do that. I get all hyped up. And then I just eat so much. That's the best. That buffet is.
I can't remember what it is in England and the UK because I've not been there, for years. But I see Barlord is saying it's 20. Is it 20%? Is kind of expected in the
Yeah,
States if
yeah,
it's if
yeah.
you're getting like table service.
Again,
is that right?
the weird play is I don't
That's
know.
a lot of money to me,
and
Jim. But I am a skinflint.
Brand, yes, you are. There, Cab Calloway. You end up where Brandon said that his wife doesn't like to tip on takeout orders. I think it depends for me. Like if I go, like I didn't order it ahead. It's not something that's a huge thing. I go and get a coffee at a place. I'm like, what? So I go to Wawa. They don't expect it. So I do think that because Wawa now has self-serve kind of deals, if you do have a Wawa in your area, I think that people are ripping them off left and right. I actually like, I get tempted. I'm like, but I end up, I'm like such a crazy, like prude. But I'm like, because it's like almost like the honor system at points with that thing. I'm like, nah, I'll get my coffee. But
I've just realised how this all started. It was Peach Momoko like not charging for signing things,
yeah, we're
wasn't
talking
it?
about this. What else? Again, I'm telling you, I will tip if it's like the standard deal. But me walking to get a coffee and coming back, I'm
No,
like,
that's crazy.
And again, what am I going to tip? The thing's like $2.80. What am I going to give him, a nickel? A shiny nickel? I guess I
Said like
should.
one of your
I
sons
guess I
works
should
in the
probably give him
donut shop,
25
Jim.
cents.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he does.
You know what he's thinking when you walk in? It's like, oh, I do not like
yeah.
this.
Oh no, what he thinks is, who is that guy? I see him. The one time I went in and I
He
was
looks
going to say
familiar.
hi, he ditched me. He ended
What's
up
his
running,
name again?
and I was going to start yelling, "Logan, it's me, your father!" Just start yelling.
Remember me, son?
Yeah. Oh, and also I did see him, and I told my wife, I'm like, he was laughing it up with people, but he's not like a people person. He's worse than me. He's always miserable. He just sits there and mind. They said when the owners of this donut shop, and it's a local thing, but they have a bunch of things, said Logan is one of our best employees ever. And we're like, oh, that's great. And then Tanya's like, oh, why? Like, does he really? It's because he never opens his mouth and just does his job, because that's all he does. He doesn't talk to anybody. He just makes donuts. And Matt asked the idea also, well, go. He said that, are you reading Sacrificers or Space Ghost? Two fantastic books. And then Fear Monarch had to go in and say, he did hear some smart guy help name the comment section for the Sacrificers. Now, in that, I do get mad when you have to put helped, because I named it and this other asshole ended up with 80 names, and then one of them was the one. I just had the one. I named it. Stop it. But I'm a little behind, but I do like that. I got so angry when I saw it. But
I love Sacrifices, just
Yeah,
to
it's
answer
really
it.
good.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm behind on Space Ghost.
I'll
but I'm
tell
reading
you,
Sacrifices.
I hate David Pepose so much. That Space Ghost is good. Like that's his good book in my mind, and he actually he's turning things around with the things.
His
but yeah, it's
Punisher
good.
was absolutely awful.
Oh, it was awful.
Oh my
it was
God.
garbage, and
I made a comedy review of that. It's my most liked review on the League Comic Book
he got in a
Geeks.
fight with me on Twitter about
Really?
it, and said, I think because on the podcast I gave one of the issues a 4 out of 10, and he's like, yeah, you're a jerk. Anybody who goes under a 5's toxic. So the thing is, though, David Pepose, he reviewed books for Newsarama, I believe it was, and I went and looked, and he certainly gave a lot of things under a 5. He was giving 1s, and I pointed it out, and he blocked me because I showed he was a hypocrite. But yeah, that's the best thing is maybe there would be a funny thing if we had what's it called? Trivia night. And one of the trivia deal would be, what was that new Punisher's name? And I know it. It's Joe Garrison. Nobody remembers that.
No idea.
Yeah,
I didn't even know it was Joe. I forgot his first name.
It was really bad. It was really, really bad. And yeah, he says he was no different than Frank Castle, and it's no wonder it died after 4. That was the other thing. I remember when you had the 4 issues, and then usually you'll at least get to 5 or 6 or whatnot. And David Pepose was trying to convince people that it was always that it didn't get canceled. That was like, really? Like, that was the thing. If you remember when Tom Taylor was on the Suicide Squad with the Revolutionaries, which I actually liked, but it was a little convoluted. It had Bruno Redondo on that as well. It ended at like issue 11. No book ends at 11. And he ends up like, it was always the plan. I'm like, no, it wasn't. And then the other was that Mark Russell when he had the Prez book, and it ended at 6. and it was supposed to be 12. It got canceled at 6. And he's like, no, we're going to be coming back with season 2 later. And I remember typing, no, you're not. You're not. It's canceled. It's done.
Back by popular
He
demand.
fought with
Nope.
me. He fought with me so much. He's like, you don't know what
For
you're talking
days,
about.
for
I know what's
days."
going on. And I'm like, no, it's done. Like, give it up. Nobody read it. It stinks. And he's like, no. So what would happen now, even the past 2 months, I will randomly just tweet something to Mark Russell. He doesn't remember me. So I end up like, man, when's that other 6 issues of Prez coming out? I hear that that's in the works. And then he'll respond like it's a serious question. I laugh every time. He's like, I really think that we still could do it. I'm like, no, you can't. And then I think he remembers who I am. I'm like, no, it's not happening. It's done. He had like a one shot in an election special that ended it, but I don't like him. I don't like him. He's not very good. But yeah, the only Frank Castle that we get, he's hanging on a wall with no arms and legs. So you call him Art. That's my joke. I was telling Gray that there used to be dead baby jokes that were
Oh my God.
somewhat popular.
Where
in,
are we
like, the
going,
80s
ladies and
and
gentlemen?
90s. But yeah, what we're going is we're going to get out of here. But yeah, and then Matt Fisher said this is $1.99 chat for the deal.
Matt has been
but yeah.
very generous.
Yes,
in
he
the,
is.
the
Thank
chat
you,
there.
Matt.
Thank you
Thanks
so much
everybody,
for supporting
even
the channel.
Jack too, and all that. Again, we're just kind of hanging out and having fun now. But I like talking like this too. I like talking just randomly. Though I
Me too.
I do need Gray to remind me that I'm going off on a tangent and
Haven't
getting
you got
all
like
wacky.
20 things to do before bedtime?
Yeah,
Jim?
yeah, and I have 2 books I have to review before 10 o'clock. It's not happening. 'Cause I didn't even read Batgirl fully yet. I got to go do that. So we are, we're gonna get out of here. I gotta go. I gotta get a hold of this of Jared. He's probably already messaged me like 6 times. Like, are we really doing this? I'm like, yeah. I think. Wait, look. No, I think he's already used to me. I'm gonna put right now. Finishing up and reading, and then sending you a link. People can hear this all live. And then I was supposed to talk to Zach about Birds of Prey for this week's, but he can't do it after 10, so I think we're done. Finishing up and reading. We'll send link. So I don't know. I hope that we get to do Birds of. Oh, the funny thing is, he's now typing something. I saw something just pop up. I haven't written the whole thing yet. He said, oh no, that's before, but he is probably asking me where the hell I am.
Jim,
So,
where are you?
Now I got to get these.
Are you still
things
awake?
done. Yeah, that happens.
You should be
calm
watching
down.
the channel. Shouldn't you? Should be watching the show.
Yeah,
Where is he?
I thought
Get him
I
in the
did
live
tell
chat.
him.
Come
I
on,
did tell
Jared.
him what the deal was, and we'll.
Well, I think he does stream almost every day. He does quite a lot on
Yeah, I
his
saw
channel
a
too.
stream of his the other day.
Yeah.
He was yelling about something. He was all fired up. I got at the very end. I have to read the thing or listen to the thing. Yep. And Fearmonic says, in fact, yeah, I don't expect any. That's the thing. I just do this to have fun and whatnot. But if you aren't in the Patreon, we do a lot of shows. Fearmonic can tell you. And so Brandon, everybody, we do a ton of shows, a lot with Gray. I do a lot of things with a lot of people. We have reading clubs. We have a bunch. I have a bunch I have to edit. I have so many Elseworlds podcasts that I have to edit. I got to get to it. So
How's
be
Luke Hollywood, Jim?
doing
Is he
that.
still alive?
No, I haven't heard from him, but I do have a Manga Monday.
Manga Monday.
I have a Manga Monday that I think
Yay.
it's Marshall King, which was a pretty crazy manga that came out. That was pretty cool. Me and you talked about Animal Man today, which we will go out with that here. But yeah, and yeah, he says it's content for days, and I'm telling you, I have so many shows that I still have to edit, and we're doing more expanded Marvel, so it's crazy. But yeah, if you go, it'll be in the show notes. You can go, but it's patreon.com/Weird Science. And when we did start it, a lot of people at that point, because it was a while back, people were just saying, hey, support us. And you'd go to the Patreon, there wouldn't be anything. You would just be giving them money for what they already did. And I said to Eric right away, I feel weird doing that. I think that you have to kind of, give them something that they're getting from it. So we do try to do a lot, maybe too much. And I end up where anybody who mentions something, I will just do a podcast just because they mentioned it. That's the craziest thing. Yeah, and VNetFed said Marshall King was pretty good. It's really cool the way that they use the colors more in that, but only certain times. So when it pops up, it's it really pops. It really is cool. Yeah, and says Matt Fisher said his Uber passenger wants him to stop listening. Probably just this guy's annoying. It has to be. Screw you, you Uber passenger. So thank you,
This
Matt.
guy just likes the sound of his own voice,
listen
doesn't
to
he?
this guy. I just start talking. It's I don't like silence, so I end up just talking with. Yep, Joe Garrison. That Joe Garrison. He ended up, I forget what book he ended up showing up in. I swear to
He
God,
did
it was
give me
like
somewhere.
Yeah, I swear to God, it might have been one that had Black Widow
So
as
memorable,
Venom.
Jim,
It was
wasn't
like
he?
such a weird deal. I'm like, he's in this? Like, what the hell?
Who? What was his name again?
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on with the real
Not Frank.
It's weird. It's weird. But they keep wanting to throw him in, but in the weird ways and stuff. So hopefully there's another character that can be fixed easily by just having him be himself. And you know, people, if they're worried, oh, that person did this or that group, like, you know, whatever, you're doing it. It's like letting people win. I just don't know. But that's it. We'll get going. I gotta see what Jared's saying. It's funny too, because then I'm like, maybe me and Jared will do this live, but it's more of the deal. Oh, he is watching. He said he's watching, Gray. You're yelling at him and he was watching.
Oh, Jared, sorry, man.
What the hell? You're throwing shade at him. Oh my goodness. There you go. But we're gonna get out of here. In fact, behind the scenes, me and Gray both said that we would probably end the show and get out pretty quick because it being late or whatnot, and yet we talked longer than we ever have. So there you go. But I had fun. And thanks, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I hope you enjoyed the actual show as well. And yeah, I think that it's at least Batman next week. So we'll be back with Absolute Batman, I think. That's just me.
Cheers, Governor. Yeah, looking forward to that, Jim. I hope there are more babies being punted over the bar.
I hope that he starts punning old ladies, people everywhere. You know, people with a walking cane. Kick them all. Just keep kicking them.
Alfred.
Yeah, so we're going to get going. Thanks, everybody. And we are going to go out with, as I said, the Animal Man theme. Makes no sense, but we'll go out with that because me and Gray like it. And then we'll talk to you all later. Remember, I have a couple live shows coming up in between them as well. The best of the previous show and me and Sully talking Sunday mornings and maybe even some impromptu other things. Who knows? But that's it. Thanks, everybody. And we'll talk to you all later. Japanese AI. I'm here for Grant Morrison, and we'll love him to the day we die. Hey, hey, it's Animal Man, and it's gonna be great. Hey, hey, it's Animal Man, and we are gonna go ape. We're gonna go ape. We're gonna go bananas. We're gonna